Hello, everybody. I hope everyone can hear me this evening. So give me a 5x5 on the audio and let me know if I'm coming across good. How's everybody doing this evening? It's good to let's see who's all in this place so far in the chat room. Mark, Kathleen, Mr. Urbatine, Kathleen. Let's see, Craig H, Rostalox, Mary Reed. Great to see everybody. Excellent. And this is awesome. So we're going to have a pretty interesting evening. Still waiting on my audio check from my people out here. But we're going to have a cool evening. So we're going to talk about the Devil's Holler investigation we just did in the most recent video we put up. If you haven't watched that video, I suggest you do. Good. Thank you, Mr. Urbatine. That'll work great. High five. All right. So anyway, we're going to be talking about that expedition as well. I'm going to be joined by my buddy Eric out of Michigan, who I went up and did a couple of conferences with him. And he runs Uncomfortable Podcast, and they've got a really huge listener base on all the audio platforms and everything. And he's going to be working with me and another man who's a GIS specialist, amongst other things. He's part of the Sasquatch mapping project, something very scientific and above board. And we all came together and want to create an entity or a new show, a new broadcast, a new information hub, a way to get things out there that that will be more comprehensive. Let's say things that are quantifiable, or things we can hold in our hands, data that's being attempted to be formatted or put towards some form of a study or research effort, something more toward the methodology and basically what KX is known for. You know, we want to say the scientific approach, but it's actually kind of beyond that. It's more the unbiased, skeptical, without predetermination approach, let's say that. So we let the evidence speak for itself, and we're willing to go out there and get it. We don't do a lot of talking about other people's finds sometimes, but the majority of what we do is what we go out and do, and what we've discovered, and what we found, what we've been able to put together through the years and through the locations. And so far, like when we just did Oklahoma, everything's just paying right down the gets. You get out of the ride, get in the forest, within minutes you can get on trail. You can follow that trail to the subject. I mean, so this has worked now. New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona. It's worked all the way up to Michigan. So we've had the unique opportunity to get around and try this stuff in a few places because of the conference stuff. So, and recently with the Phenomenon, I want to just give a great shout out to all the guys who I met up there: Don Mitchell, Dan Dillman, John Madsen. So many names, it's going to be hard to name them all, but I want to, mention Wayne Smith for getting me up there to Phenomenon, and Terry Carter, and these guys who got me through into the Moon Lake stuff. And, I got to meet Dwayne Ollinger, and him and I hit it off really, really tight, but we haven't had a chance to talk again after that. And that's from the Blind Frog Ranch stuff. And I think we're going to be ended up working with them in the future. I don't know in what capacity, but I sure want to, put the talent into the field for those guys. So I don't know if our soundtrack's too loud here, but yeah, Eric's going to be calling us in, and we're going to be discussing this new collaboration. So Duke, how's it going, brother? Yeah, I did check that out. Hard to tell, man. Pretty awesome though, huh? That whole event, I think that we probably, if we go through that whole thing, we may have got peeking through that whole deal. But yeah, good catch, man. I appreciate that. And appreciate you highlighting us and sharing your deal. And if you guys haven't been over to World Bigfoot Radio's site or World Bigfoot Central, old Duke, I guess meant to say World Bigfoot Central, but he's got all kinds of things going. You need to chase down him, go check out his page and site. And they do a lot of audio stuff too. Adman, good to see you. All right, cool. Expected you to pop in here. Digger Dog, great, good to see you. Awesome. Who else has popped in? So that's really, really cool. As far as watchers go, let's see what we got initially. So 23, right on. I mean, that's not bad for us, seeing as how they kind of keep us below the level there. So, and speaking of that, I actually had been trying to deal with YouTube lately as well. We're running our own music, and I had paid for a service and bought some really, really spendy music to do in our productions, which kicks them up, and I like it. But they pulled music I had copyright issues after I purchased the license, so it's real weird. I buy it from a distributor, buy the rights to the music, and then another distributor claims they have rights to the music. For some reason, we got to pay for it, and they strike my video, so that's great. So we weren't able to use our intro that I normally have been trying to throw in on the beginning of everything. But anyway, if you guys have any questions right off the bat, I want to talk about that investigation that we did in Oklahoma. And if you guys want to see anything, we can roll video from that whole deal. We can roll any segments. And actually, I think as we go through this evening, we will pull up parts and portions of that video that we can take a look at. We can take a closer look or put them in a program, zoom them in, you know how it goes. So Enigma Recon, for those of you who haven't seen the show yet, it's really loose. We try to do this as informal as possible, really. And so whatever happens, kids, cats, whatever. Interruptions are a given on this show. But anyway, yeah, we'll take a look and see through the files and see what's going on with that. So we should have here pretty soon Eric calling in and joining us. I also put a shout out to my guys, part of KX team, that are up there in Minnesota and Oklahoma, and that's Chris Davis and Dave Sappington. And Chris said he may call in and join us as well, and so I kind of want those guys here before we break out the video and get that stuff rolling, so we can kind of go through that together, from their point of view. Because there's a point in the video where Dave smells one basically, and then I'm pointing out where Chris is in the trees, and he's about 20 feet above that subject, hiding underneath that root base. So Chris is kind of standing on the top of the tree that's hanging out, and the thing is underneath the root base as he's standing there. And so when we go by and catch him in that glimpse, he had to be there somewhere because the guys were smelling him and there was no wind. And in these drier environments, a lot like that forest I witnessed in Oklahoma, and especially during this drought, it's very dry, they're not going to smell a whole lot. I know in New Mexico, you're rare to catch a whiff of one, even in close proximity. So, Lizard Wizard, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. You're like 60 feet from me. Excellent. Oh, cool. You like the setup? Right on. Yeah, you see the little stars? Huh? Yeah, bright stars, huh? So I loaned my little spaceman here guy who's making my little color changes and stars back here. And we had to try to find a couple that were as bright. This one's pretty cool. Who else? It says, can you show the evidence you were finding close up of a break? You mean in the video, Kathleen? So in the Oklahoma video, like the first one we come on to that has the sectional breaks, is that the one you're talking about? Give me a yes if it is. And yeah, absolutely, we can bring it up. I think we're pretty prepared to bring up basically anything. Last time we went through files, they seemed to work out really, really well. We can always try this again and see what happens. I'm going to play with my windows. So it'd be really cool to have a producer. I was thinking of trying to talk one of the kids into doing that. But let's take a look. I don't know if I did photograph that break. So if that's the one you're talking about, okay. Let's see here. Reduce this. So I think that's the one you're probably referring to. I was wondering if I had an image, just a still image of it in this file. That way we could zoom in and look at break for break. Actually, we're pretty quick about this. Let's see what I got up here. Hold on. Nope. Yeah, so this isn't going to necessarily let me zoom. but I have a trick up my sleeve. Thanks you guys always for being patient while we do this kind of stuff too. Usually I'm pretty quick. Sometimes things don't work. So right now I'm actually capturing that portion of the screen, and then we can maybe zoom in and if we have any questions about it, we can talk about that. So it just takes a minute to capture this, get it into the file for us. There we go. So we should be here somewhere. Again, thank you very much. Okay, this is the image we just looked at. Is that working? That's working. Okay, so let me grab it so I can get onto it and do something with it. Yeah, so this is the image you're talking about. What in particular do you want to check out about it? Was that twisted? No, as these you can see in these. Let's bring up. Why aren't you showing? That's why. So in this top one, that one's obviously broken straight down, and let's try to do this here. So that's definitely snapped straight down, and then this one is obviously snapped straight down. All these nifty tricks, huh? And then this one is, I think it's straight, and they are all the same. There was this is another one that's been kind of mashed and twisted, but it's not broken down. But these other three and the top one obviously were, and I don't see any twists. The point to this being though that this type of brake, and you saw me swing those, so they just barely left them attached. And what got me and on this is that this is repetitive. So as we see here and here and here, these are all done they weren't done this year. They were done at least a year ago. And then you come back on the same tree and you have, this other snap, which is exactly the same. This limb looks like it was bent, like when it was green, and it's got kinks in it, which was really weird, but it was never snapped off. And so it's a repeated manipulated tree, in a repeated fashion year after year. And that's kind of more what we intend on, to find when we're doing this for sure. What else we got? Tara May, hi baby, how are you? Good to see you in here. Grandizer, happy birthday to Alistair Crowley. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, dinner was great, man. Thank you very much. Had to eat quick, getting all this stuff ready. Got a lot of connection going on between different devices and things. Hopefully, we can make everything work when the call-in time comes. We should be not too awful long for Eric to join us anyway. Yeah, so directional I think in the fashion, not so, limbs grow where they grow. And so they'll use the same tree regardless of what direction these limbs are to do this type of manipulation. But there is direction markers. What this just tells me in the field is what to pay attention to, or to start to pay attention. Basically, here is a trail marker verbatim, and now within 20 feet or 30 feet, I'm gonna find another break. And then that's going to send me on. And usually on these two, we could actually, once you get used to it, and you could see the corridor. So as you watch the video, you'll notice what I'm looking at, because when I say there's been no travel, you can tell. And then when I say, and that's travel, you can see the differences in what we call the shine, the things laying down. So how many acres in the Devil's Holler area? That's an interesting question. I can only guess based on the map that I saw to begin with. And it would have to be 200 acres. I'm sure of that. So, that's not even a very big area. It's probably quite a bit bigger than that. Oh, you thought it was a stick standing up against the tree on the bottom of that, Kathleen? And Vicky Reno, hello, Vicky Reno, and thanks for your appreciation of our posts on Facebook and such. See your name pop up often. Good to see you. That's nice. So, what other in particular, from those who have watched the Devil's Holler video, what in particular, other than that break, would you guys like to take a look at? And we'll pull up. We have, not a whole lot of static images in this file. I didn't take a lot of them just because I was shooting video, but we'll bring up any of the video segments or anything like that you guys want to. Now there was part in the dark. We'll give Chris maybe a chance to pop in here too, where we had eye shine naturally, and you can see black pixel change, which is a different form of value than the nighttime behind some foliage. And you can see it in motion back and forth a little bit when you get the eye shine and peaking. You can see eye tracking where the eye's sweeping. But there's other lights around, and I know a couple of them were on the horizon, but they blink in time. I think the radio tower's way out there. And then there were some really bright, really close eye shine, or I would say reflections, that I don't know if they were subjects or not. The only one I focused on was the one I kept hearing in that position. So we probably had three, one behind the cabin, one where I finally left the camera sitting at the end, and one opposite that down the porch where I was showing initially. A close-up of that Bigfoot. All right, yeah, we can pull that up, Kathleen. But my curiosity, and when we go through this video a little bit, my curiosity is about an eye shine segment that appears to be two slits for eyes. I mean, like it's squinting, huge, and they're big, and they're slits this big, this far apart. And if that is, then that's a full size adult. That's like a full size male. That's a huge, huge subject. And looking directly through the trees, right on the edge of the visible light. And then my IR on my phone was lighting the eyes up big time. And we didn't see that with our eyes. So the porch lights were not, he wasn't getting that much reflection from the porch lights, but my IR certainly did, like off the charts. So yeah, we can bring up a close up of that critter, because I did take that one, and then I went ahead and processed it with AI as well. So did we leave a sound recorder after you went inside? What I did do, and I still haven't even gone through the footage on these, is I put two of our little stealth cams out, and they do take audio, but they're not great. The audio is certainly not great as far as its sensitivity, but they have their own IR illuminators, and they'll catch eye shine 250 feet. And those ran all night, or at least as far as I know they did. And when I first went to bed, I actually logged into them on my phone, was sitting there watching them. So I didn't get crashed till like 3. But I didn't watch them solid, and because I could only log in one at a time anyway. And my little phone's not enough to show good res. But yeah, I did run those all night. So it'll be interesting to see what pops up. Yeah, so this is, let's see how this shows up here. I guess it's going to show up small because it's cropped out of the video. If I can move it over here, now I can see what's on our screen. So this is the subject that Kathleen was asking about. This is the one that, or it should be a subject. This is the one that, in this position, Chris and them were just above to the right of where he is, maybe 15 feet. And apparently it had raised back up in this. But if it was laying right there, that's it. Those guys were right on top of it. They smelled it. And it just held position. And we tracked right by it, basically. So where I dropped down the hill is feet away from it. And so I'm tracking down the hill. And I didn't know which side had gone down. But we actually tracked this subject to the river, is what you're witnessing through the video. And then this is also would be the position where we heard one of the owl hooting, and one subject did not do a very good job of an owl impersonation, not like the others, and would have been on this track or this line of sight. So we assumed this was the subject making that sound, and so we were able to follow sign until we went down the hill, and he just stopped on the hill. And I didn't have any sign below. You'll see that in the video. I had no toe marks going down the hill or anything. And that's because he didn't go down the hill. He just went below the root mass that was there underneath this huge tree and stuck right there. So, what do we else we have? I think that's why I separate recorder. Oh, John. Hi, how you doing, John? So thanks for joining us. Whatever happened to Intuition Point? That's still an ongoing thing. I need my tech to work before I go much farther on that, since everything I've shown has told me that it's actually a lot deeper through the rock than I expected it to be. If there's whatever's in there is in there, whether it be mineral, gold, whatever, it's deeper. And so I need to get an imaging device running and operating so I can take a look and see what it is and see how to approach it. The magnetometer, after doing that survey, it actually showed me what could be a crack, or it's a flaw, let's say. It could be a crack or whatever, but it also could be access. It shows to be this wide. That may not be the truth with a mag, but if it is, it's a tunnel that leads out to the base, which is like 25 feet below the cap. So it's going to be really, really tough to get to that. So this next image, by the way, I'm going to do this. This is after being processed with GigaPixel AI, which cost me a little penny, but it's good stuff. And I'm gonna go ahead and switch this photo right now, and you'll see the AI cleaned up version of this. And so like it just takes the averages, and you can see it's kind of swirled the leaves out a little bit, but it is basically a cleaner image than what we had previous. Let's see. Looks like he's wearing wrestling mask on. Yeah, it's hard to tell what position we're seeing. So with this type of change in lighting, and if we've got an animal with different hair texture and stuff, that could be an arm in front of its head and forearm like this, to where this area, if you can see my mouse, this area right here could be forearm. It could be ducking its head completely. There's no way to tell. We even have a signature of a similar color contrast up here with the line. And it's hard to tell if we don't have a subject laying all the way here, or if there's not two subjects here. What we do know, though, is this color doesn't exist anywhere else in the frame. And that's the most important thing. So let's say you go into Adobe Photoshop and you take this image, or the previous image that's not been fixed in AI, whatever, and you run it through what's called a vector scope filter. What it's doing is it picks out the color frequency that we're seeing that's hit this sensor. So it's looking at the frequency. So that's kind of a 3D look at the color. And anything that's not the initial color, regardless what it looks like when it hits the camera, because if I zoom way out of this, when in the original video, you could barely tell that it was any different than the dark here, but I could see it. And so that's what I get used to. But this exact color in a vector scope, you could isolate that, and then it'll show you if it exists anywhere else in the frame. And when we do that, we find that if it is a subject, you won't find that color anywhere in the frame, regardless of what kind of stump, root mass, rock, or what else you have, because it's not that particular frequency of light. It looks the same apparent color, but like black can have 100 colors of black you can't tell looking at it until you put it in a vector scope. And so that's kind of what we do. This was not vector scoped, but I can see visually that this has, regardless of the lighting, it has the same base color value. And when we do see a place where we have lighting, this is the color we get. And this is a chestnut. And that chestnut's not in the frame. So we can look all over this wood and everything else, and this is a grayer tone. There's a slight tone change, but that chestnut, and then this is chestnut with a little more gray or black. That's going to show us that this is probably a real subject, and it's probably not just a fluke. So we don't just look at images and go, oh, I got a Bigfoot in my picture. You know, if it wasn't where we smelled it, we found knuckle marks. Right there, he found knuckle marks as well. If we hadn't tracked it for a mile or whatever, 2.5 miles, to this location, then drop off and find knuckle prints, smell the subject, and don't find any sign of him passing this point, then we get this right at the same location he basically should be as we're walking by, and beneath it, which is why I was checking the video. I didn't look through the whole video for anything. I did not look through the video to see if anything was looking. I looked at this specific segment because I knew as I shot it, I may have caught something. So I did that, and there it was. Out of all in the world, there it is. So I find that really interesting. Eric, I don't know if you're out there or not, or if you have tried to get in. Let me know if you do, because I may have to turn your collab cam on. I'm going to check my messages real quick on my telephone. Hopefully this doesn't actually come over the speaker. I'm not sure how to turn it down. This is a company. So that should be that. Let's see here. Let's see if anybody's hit me back up. Yeah, so I've got these guys kind of on the horn. Okay, he says he's on the screen with me on his end, so let's go ahead and bring Eric on to the show. So it's the very first time we have ever turned on anybody else's camera. And I know I have to go into settings and show him on the stream. And I believe there's Eric. Eric, how you doing, buddy? You are on camera. How are you? Oh, let's get his audio going here. Hold on, Mr. Clabcam. Try that. Okay, I see you, but I don't. Okay, can you do that again? Oh, there you are. I can turn you up on my mixer. Okay, let me get a 5x5 on everyone out there on Eric's audio if we can. Like I said, this is the very first time we've ever rolled anybody up here before. So yeah, that should be interesting. So how's it going, Eric, while they return to us here? It'll take a minute, I'm sure.
Just life changes and just trying to take care of myself and enjoy time with my woman and do some things that are equally as important as providing good content for my dear listeners. But
okay,
I'm back at it. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go again.
Good deal. I don't want to cut you off there. And I think the system might be adjusting to this because you did cut out of me for a minute. Now, I just made some changes, and it sounds like, yep, here we go. You are on. So I had to turn on another setting here. We'll make sure we've got our somewhat balanced here in our volume. Let's see where you hit. Yeah, you're
test 1 2 test.
Yeah, looks super good. Okay, good. Now, everybody, no 5x5. So we got no echoes. We got nothing else going on. We are sweet. That's crazy. Cool. All right. Well, this is the first run. Eric, go ahead and run us through again real quick on where you're at right now and how you're doing with things.
Just kind of coming off of a hiatus.
We're having an audio cutting problem. So I just lost your audio. And they're all saying, yep, 5x5, but I don't see you coming across on my collab cam either there.
Not at all?
There I did, yeah. There I did. I don't know why. Give me a test again. Test 1 2.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
Perfect. I don't know if there was an over, if it went over and cut or not.
I've got my mic tuned I've got my mic tuned down, so it shouldn't be pushing anything too hard on your end.
Okay, now you came across perfect right there. So go ahead and go again. We'll just roll from this point.
All right. Uh, basically, a couple of months ago now, I went on socials and I told everybody I was going to be taking.
Oh boy. Okay, Eric, I don't know if you can hear me. So it cut
Yep.
you again right at socials. I can, not sure. I don't know if now people are saying it's good, but I don't know if they know you just cut. So I don't know how to tell you. Yeah, I lost him. So people say the same thing. Now I don't know if it's got to be one of our connections here. Am I coming across clear to you? 5x5. I'm not cutting out. Oh, I just lost your cam. Let's see what happened to him here. Nope, I got nobody. Yeah, so I might just generate him a new link and send him a brand new link to get on here, and we'll see about that. Now we got him back. Okay, let's check your
About
audio.
now?
Yeah, and your
I
audio.
left. I left and I came back.
Yeah, audio sounds good. Maybe this will work.
Okay.
Yeah, if not, I was going to just send you another link. We could stop the whole connection. Is your internet's all flying up to speed and everything's good?
Oh yeah.
Okay, because you're not going through my system to go on here. I think you're going direct. I think we'll see. If so, I was going to shut the YouTube feed down potentially, or I'll just do this. Okay, so let's try this again. Sorry, Eric.
You're
Doing
fine,
that.
bud. You're fine.
And everybody, thank you for all the patience. You guys are probably the best out there, I swear. Rockstar, good to see you. All right, so now we sound good. So Eric, take it away.
As I was saying, I'd been at the podcast game for 3.5 years. Was getting tired, getting a little burned out. Decided to take a couple of weeks. Couple of weeks turned into probably closer to a couple of months. But it gave me some time. I've been working on my health. Not that I was in danger or anything, but I was way overweight. I've dropped almost 100 pounds since last November. So I'm carrying less of a person, and just putting some concentration into my relationship with my woman, and trying to oh man, we're gonna get into this, I'm sure, at some point during the show, but like the my show covers everything from hauntings to possessions to Bigfoot to UFOs. Um, and I've had enough experiences in my life as far as the spiritual aspects of encounters and manifestations and things like that. That part of that journey in that 3.5 years was to confirm some of the things that I already knew that I knew. Um, but what I didn't realize was that when you start going into conversations with people who have things, and those people are not willing or actively trying to eliminate those things from their lives, those things can still reach out to you. And strings attached is something that I no longer have any interest in. That coupled with some of the people in this industry that can't think for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
that tend to farm. I don't want to say farm your content, but they they pay attention to your show. And the thing that really clues me in on this is I've had interviews with people that have not been on 40 other podcasts. I've had interviews with people who nobody has ever heard of before.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, those people are on another show. And then another person like that is on that other show. And then I get reached out by a guest that I had, and somebody tells me that so and so presented themselves as a good friend of yours and that you recommended I be on their show. So I did. And, he was kind of rude to me, or she was kind of rude to
Oh boy.
me. And I'm like, well, listen, first of all, I'm not friends with that person. I don't have any association with that person. I extended an olive leaf and tried to be nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then you turn around and you look and you see, there's 15 episodes that he's pulled from my library. There's more than a couple of people that do that. And good ideas are what this world has been based on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So somebody has an idea, and then somebody else takes that idea and makes it better, and somebody who takes that better idea makes it into a fantastic idea, right? It's all a matter
Right.
of what your resources are and how much money do you have behind it and all like that.
Right.
So and there's been some ideas that I've had that have gotten um, reused, and I'm fine with that. But you would expect that the people that are reusing that idea, who I know, would have at least reached out and said, "Hey, man, I really love this idea. Would you mind if I run with it too?" And my answer to that would have been absolutely, man. Knock yourself out. But when you don't even get a phone call, those are the kind of things that really annoy the piss out of me. And it literally was about to make me decide to just walk away from it all.
Mm-hmm.
But for those few bad apples, there's a ton of great people out there and a ton of good relationships that I've developed, like with you and many others. So a little bit of revamping, a little bit of a little different format that I'm going to continue on. And I'll tell you what, if they come after that idea, I'm going to go scorched earth on their ass.
Right.
I will burn them down.
No, it's just that
so,
one to the next. It's everything is such a high competition for, especially the ones waving their arms that just want to make noise. So.
and I've never been that.
No, me
This thing took off organically, and it's been fun, and it's been educational, and it's just been it's been a really good whirlwind, right? I don't have that. In some aspects of my life, I'm a competitive person,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't need to be the best or the biggest or the most listened to or the most famous or the wealthiest of any of these. It was never my intent when I started it, and it's still not. Just think for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want. I just come up with your own ideas, man. Do some of your own work. Don't just take the easy road, because when you listen to it, it shows, man. It shows. It really does. So,
Well, and I also want you to go over, like you had mentioned to me, you wanted to do things like I was telling them before you came on more of a comprehensive manner.
yeah,
More things that were quantifiable, that had something that we can begin to use and put together in the proper
yeah,
formats to actually get something done.
absolutely.
Um,
So, like going back to the spiritual stuff real quick, it undoubtedly exists. But what I've found through my own experiences and through people I've talked to, those experiences are very, very reliant on your upbringing, what your religious upbringing was, what kind of household you grew up in, what your associations to the spiritual world via religion, via what God you believe in.
mm-hmm.
Christians have an experience, and it's automatically demons. Catholics have an experience, and it could be the Mother Mary, or it could be one of the. It's just it's such a personalized thing that, yes, it's interesting to hear, but if I were to continue to do that, like, for example, I had a woman who said that her grandmother was reaching out to her.
Mm-hmm.
And the method that she was using to reach out to her was by making words appear in the search bar on her smart TV. I'm an
Mm-hmm.
intelligent person.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fascinating thing to have happen.
I'm telling you.
With the advent of these wonderful things,
Yeah.
the first thing I would do is grab my phone, flip it over to video, and I would start videoing that TV as
Sure.
the words were popping up.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So I asked the question, and I got the runaround. Well, yeah, we have plenty of video evidence, but if I were to show that to you, then you would just say, oh, it's somebody off screen using the remote.
Right, right.
Well, I don't know how fancy the TV is, but on my remote, I got to go letter by letter.
Yeah.
The whole word doesn't just pop up. Now, maybe the kind that you push the button and you talk into, maybe it does that, but I don't think so.
Right.
So that in itself would be compelling evidence to me that would make me want to listen to that story more. So if I were to continue to do that type of show, I would have to start putting out a disclaimer saying this is for entertainment only.
Right. No, I know. And matter of fact, everything we rock, I basically say entertainment, because even in the new world of misinformation and whatnot, there comes a time where information becomes the enemy, and the information is what's told to you, not what you say. So,
right,
regardless of what you go look at, what you dig up, what you've got in your closet, it doesn't matter. There can come a point to where that becomes contraband, not just the item itself, but relating that item to reality, so to speak. So here's an item that doesn't fit history. I'm going to say it's real. Now that I said it's real, I'm perpetuating misinformation. And and on a note where you talk about the spiritual side of this stuff, not only is it not necessarily not quantifiable, it's highly relative to the observer.
Exactly.
And at the same time, the whole point is we don't know what it is. So the whole point is that means it could be anything, literally.
Yeah.
And so, and no one thing's not necessarily more likely than another thing is.
And to that point, I love my listeners. They're great people, but I've had people reach out to me. Oh my God, I have this going on in my house. Who do you recommend?
Right, right.
I'm just a guy who talks to people.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not an expert.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
if I direct you to somebody, if I direct you to a priest, or I direct you to a psychic, or I direct you to a Native American cleanser, then there's a liability. Maybe not legally, but in my gut, I can't do that.
Right.
Because it doesn't feel right. And like to move the point a little bit, before you brought me in, I was watching your stream. You had the photograph of the subject behind the stump, and you used AI to layer and discern the different color values that were not consistent with that stump or any other color around that picture, to determine that whatever that is in the top part and the little piece off to the side, were from the same subject, whatever that is. That is a great use of AI. When I go online and I look at social medias and I see the drone footage of a Bigfoot walking through a pine forest, and you hear the guy talking and you hear the footsteps of the Bigfoot walking, all you have to do is be around somebody who flies a drone. A drone is so loud, the rotor wash will not allow for audio recording. Now, if you get to a military type, yes, they can make them quiet enough where they can record audio.
Right.
But what's available to the regular public, that it's horseshit. So you got fake videos, and you've got people that are just putting stuff out to get likes and to draw attention to whatever it is they're trying to sell. And I don't I don't have a problem with other shows that use fake images. Like I for some of my episodes in the last 6 months or 7 months or so, I was using AI to create a video thumbprint that was based on my text relative to the episode. So, I did a episode with Todd Standing a while back.
Mm-hmm.
So I told AI to create a picture of a man with glasses and a scruffy beard, trying to, get something to look kind of Todd Standing-ish in front of a Bigfoot looking at him. And it generated a perfect image for me. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the stuff that is obviously manipulated and I mean, Robert, I don't know how much time you spend on social media, but like the number of reused images from things that have been debunked for years that are they're just making a comeback. And it's like, the year before you appeared at Bigfoot and Bruce for me, the year before that, I had a group from Ohio and Bodine the Bigfoot. Great guys. Bodine comes out about 20 minutes every hour, and he plays with the kids and he plays with the audience. Great sense of humor, just a lot of fun. Bodine the Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
That costume is exactly the same costume that I've seen a video going around here in the last week and a half that somebody looked at that and thought that was so compelling that they forwarded it to Jeff Meldrum to get his opinion on it.
Oh boy.
And I'm like, so all this is a roundabout way to get to what I want to do. And that is to go back to my first two loves, which are Bigfoot and extraterrestrial UFOs. So with the UFO thing, with the disclosure, believe the government, don't believe the government, whatever you want to do. The fact that the fact that it is out now and is readily being recognized as a thing. Most people are recognizing it as a security problem. Nevertheless, eyes are on it now. So that's an important thing.
Right.
And there is some, I want to use the word science, but I think you got to put a dash-ish at the end of it. Science-ish on our end to be able to talk about it.
Yeah.
I also feel that way about Bigfoot, because even though we don't have a body in a museum or, on a slab that we know of, there's enough physical evidence, whether it be track castings, trackways, significant things that appear in these experiences time and time again, whether it's tree breaks or structures or, even the eye shine gives me pause. I believe eye shine is a possibility, but like self-illuminated red eyes,
mm-hmm.
that makes me kind of pause a little bit.
And
that's horror.
Here's the thing with me on that and the like is, again, if we equate it just to a biologic entity we call Bigfoot, yeah, I agree with you 100%. But that doesn't put out for me that that's not the only thing out there that might be big, covered with hair, that might have self-illuminating eyes, because it may not even be biologic.
Right.
I still want to see the mech suit that DARPA's come up with that looks like a Bigfoot. People are going to say, oh, you've heard of that? No, I haven't heard of that. But what they have claimed is if you can think about it, they've already done it.
It exists.
Period.
And it's probably existed for 10 years.
And if it works, they went to the moon. If it doesn't, they've already tried it and thrown it out. That's what they say themselves, period. So am I the only guy who can think of wow, what an infiltration, recon, stealth, information gathering, whatever you want to do device would be, is a 10-foot mech suit that you're sitting in, completely environmentally controlled. It's all active carbon fiber armor and the whole 9 yards, So it's a true muscular suit. They make them where there's no mechanics. They have carbon material that will flex, move, do everything. It'll even compress where you've been shot. If you do get shot through it, it'll compress the wound
Apply
in that.
pressure.
Yeah, these things are way beyond what they have now. And this was all off the shelf. It's not conspiracy, whatever. Go read Popular Mechanics in the 80s and 90s if you want to see what's hidden in secret now. Um, but regardless, so they have all this. So why wouldn't they have built this into a suit that if anybody sees it, they go, oh, it's a Bigfoot. And then everybody calls them crazy or everybody thinks it's a Bigfoot. Either way, you don't think it's some guy that's on ops. And then where are you going to train these things? They always say, oh, they don't train out in civilian land. The crap, they don't. Um, and I say that because we've run into guys training before that were out on BLM land, state land, private land where they're not supposed to be. And they're all training, doing things. They just don't tell you that. So
Right.
it doesn't help to train against other Army guys on a military base in a, you want to do that in situations that are similar to reality.
I'm
And,
gonna
and
pop out here for a second because I got my door open and it's raining like hell, so it's not kicking off my noise gate. Hang on.
okay, you're good. So, but my point to that would be that when we see glowing eyes, it could be a lot of things. It doesn't necessarily mean it is a biologic Bigfoot, even if we're staring at it. Also, we don't see well in the dark ourselves, and we don't realize how much available light is out there to refract back to us. And so what we may look and go, it was all dark and everything else. We have no real conception of how little light it might take to get a good eye shine back. And under the right circumstances, just a source, even starlight source, could in some eyes give you an ocular glow. So I don't see where it has to be that there's a glowing eye. That has to be one of the traits to Bigfoot. And as we do the type of research, I hope that we get more involved with on the show and promote and exhibit. I certainly hope that it is that which is quantifiable. In other words, what's more likely, a biologic Bigfoot that has a luminous emission where it's emitting photons out of the eyes, or that there's something that looks like a Bigfoot that mechanical in nature that's emitting, because what you're going to do is you're going to broadcast like 940 nanometer IR out the eyes of this thing so so it could see. So
Right.
if you built the system, the cameras and lights would all be in the eyes. It would broadcast, and 940 nanometer IR is so dim that even high intensity, you don't see it very far away in daylight. I mean, you can't even see it at the source. But if it was right at you, directly, especially with a reflector, you would make that out. So it's to me a lot of the determinations and then the avenues that go. So let's say we're doing a show and someone makes a determination loosely without factoring everything that can be factored. Well, then your show ends up just continually going down these huge long branches and limbs to the leaves forever and never staying to the point. It just takes it everywhere. Whereas if each thing we see we can quantify through some explanation that fits. If it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And if so, just like that single trait you just said, that's not normal in a biologic animal. There are animals that phosphoresce, and there are animals that have bioluminescence, but that's not intensity broadcast light. And then why would you have bioluminescence inside the eyeball? For one, there's no animal that has its light source in its light receptor. So even fish that have light sources, they'll have them in pockets under the eyes and things that are
Correct.
not in the
Correct.
eye because it doesn't give you an advantage. If you stand behind a window, turn the light on, it's dark outside, you see nothing. You see the reflection of your environment. Flip it around, you see inside the environment. So what I'm trying to say is if you put a light source inside of an eyeball, right, it's going to defeat the purpose. The light's going to be reflecting from the inside of the lens of the eyeball. It's going to be the
Yeah.
same exact. So it's not likely to do that. But in a system like a mech suit, for example, a camera lens can be just iris sized, while the rest of the eye could be your light source, just like when you look at a security camera and you have a
Sure.
camera in the middle and it's surrounded by a ring of lights.
It wouldn't be any different than a heads up display.
No, exactly. So to me, it's like it's more likely. And then I've been sent some photos. I just don't have them like just really like these. They're in the other computer. If we were on that one, I could probably find it. I'd pull it up. But I've been sent photos that look like a Bigfoot in a mech suit, or they look like a Bigfoot mech suit. I mean, they just do, just based on, and that's where I see those super wide traps and more conical head, and basically what I see in those is how people envision a Bigfoot to be, and it does differ from what I've seen in the field. But it's more what people envision them to be. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like a conception rather than a living being. And
it's almost as if the government wanted to build something to replicate the viewing experience of a UFO, they would build it to look like a UFO, but they would build it to make it recognizable
Right.
from the 1950s movies that we've seen, or the
Yeah.
1960s science fiction movies that we've seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Instead of the myriad array of what, oh God, any unknown thing out there would put together. Sure, you get advanced enough. The more advanced, the simpler things are supposed to get. So, sure, eventually you're going to reach a cube or a sphere or a pyramidal shape or, the base geometric shape. Sure,
Right.
that's going to end up eventually, whatever. But at the same time, you would see things that were unrecognizable as craft, like completely. Like you wouldn't even go there. And it's funny.
Like they were biologic.
Yeah, exactly. Or whatever, right, to the max.
Yeah.
It's just because we can't fathom what the differences would be, really. I mean, and it goes in the same note as even we discuss this stuff. So the diversity in human thought is not near as wild as reality's possibilities, right? So this is why we, no matter how hard we look at a lot of things, there's always some other reason because we can't figure it out. Well, that's because it's beyond our ability at that point in time to comprehend and associate it. So when the government can fill in those gaps, can just answer that question. I don't mean the government is some shady thing or whatever, DARPA program, some private corporation that's doing this. And again, I want to note that again. So if you're testing systems and you say, well, the military, if it's a military system, it tests. Well, before it's a military system, it's made by a private company. And they do what private companies do, and they don't have to tell anybody what they do.
Right.
So private companies test drive cars all the time on the road. No big deal. So in their development, in the whole 9 yards, that's whatever. There's aircraft are flown under experimental tag all the time. Don't even have to have an IT tag or anything else. So to think that they wouldn't be developing devices and tech and then out there flopping around using them on the people to perfect them is nutty. And to me, I think we need to factor things like that. So I think that we need to focus on what can be quantified, but quantified in an aspect that there's a potential, without going so far out on a limb to break all the rules, let's say.
And that's my goal. So, you and I had a pretty lengthy discussion about it. And then I've had a lengthy discussion with another person that I wanted to bring in on this. And I think we might as well just go ahead and spoil it for everybody.
Yeah.
Scott Tompkins, the creator of the Bigfoot Mapping Project. He's interested in being a part of this as well. Now, whether this works into, once a month, we can all find the right time to get together and do this, or maybe we can do it 2 times a month. The goal for me is, maybe one night we pick 3 of our favorite Bigfoot videos and we pull them up on screen and we talk about what we see. What makes sense, what doesn't make sense, why you think this is fake, why you think this is real. As simple as that. To the other extreme, which I'm going to have a conversation with this gentleman tomorrow, and listeners of mine will recognize him from episode 2 and 3. Back at that time, he wanted his name to be withheld and he wanted his voice changed because he was afraid that people would recognize him, because the area that I am from, I have a pretty decent listener base, and he was a school teacher. Since then, he's actually appeared at Bigfoot and Brews and spoke in front of a group of 120 people and told his story. So I'm going to talk to Chris tomorrow, and by bringing you and Scott from the Bigfoot Mapping Project in this, I want to provide Scott with the GPS locations of the hunting property where he had it walk out in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
I want to provide him with the GPS location of his homestead where he had 3 experiences on his home property. 45 miles difference from the hunting property to the home.
It's nothing.
Never had experiences before.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they're having issues at the house.
Yeah, hitchhiker effect type crap.
So
is the house rural? Is the house rural?
To be honest with you, I mean, it's in a small town. It is more rural than downtown, but it's not, I mean, his neighbors are, 400, 500, 600 feet apart.
Mm-hmm.
But the landscape of where he lives is hilly. It has a dugout, a river. It was a river cut at one point, which the river doesn't go through there anymore. The river has receded to not too far away, but that area, very, to coin a term, squatchy, very squatchy looking. Neighbor lady walks out a couple of days after, and he's getting the mail, she's getting the mail, and she says, "Hey, did you see the big monkey run through my yard?" And so essentially what I want to do, I mean, you investigated property very close to where we had Bigfoot and Bruce, which was near the Benton Harbor area of Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Also very close to the Dewey Lake monster sightings back in '64.
Mm-hmm.
So you've had experience in the state of Michigan.
Oh yeah.
This gentleman now owns a pretty decent chunk of property in the Upper Peninsula for hunting. Since my episode with him, they have had experiences up in the Upper Peninsula on that property as well. Nothing quite as substantial as what were provided in the first 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting thing is, to me, when you talk to this gentleman, and these are kind of like red flags for me when I talk to somebody, because if you're using the word structures and you're using teepees and you're using tree breaks, and this is your first experience, you've never seen one before, and I never even thought about Bigfoot really, other than something funny on TV. If they start using those words, that means you've watched enough to know that those are commonly known words to use when talking about Bigfoot evidence.
Sure.
But when I talked to him, he talked about these weird, like, picket fences that were made out of branches. And, when I got him to explain it, what he meant by that, then he was saying, there was a sapling that was broke 90 or like 45 degrees down to the ground, but then there were like sticks that were propped up against it to make it look like a Stone Age picket fence. And he's like, there's these weird piles of rocks and he sent me photographs of it. They're literally, you could see where the stones were dug out of the ground and they were just piled up, and to me, mm-hmm. I'm like, it's an ammo depot. They've got piles of rocks because if they want to throw rocks at you, they've got a whole pile of them sitting there. If it wasn't his kids that dug it up on this mm-hmm. public land, mm-hmm. So the conversation was very compelling. So if anybody that's watching this right now is interested in hearing this, it's Uncomfortable episodes 2 and 3. I split it into 2 parts. First part's like 45 minutes and the next part's pretty close to an hour. I apologize for these damn notifications. I don't know where they're coming from. and I don't know how to shut them off.
We
So I'm
don't
sorry about
we
that.
don't hear them. I don't hear I don't hear
Good,
anything
good.
coming
All
across.
right. So this is my goal for this guy in particular. I want to bring him on with you
Mm-hmm.
and with Scott Tompkins. I want him to tell you guys his story, his experience, and then with your knowledge and your talent set, you can tear into some of the things that he says or the areas that he was. And with Scott, by providing the information of these locales, Scott will be able to overlay with different data sets on the map exactly where those experiences took place and be able to tell you where the heavy travel corridors for large animals are.
Sure.
And a bunch of different really interesting stuff that is going to show that even though this was in lower southwest Michigan, where everybody says there's no Bigfoot, the conditions are proper, the water sources, the swamps, everything that needs to be there is there. And I think by you interjecting your knowledge base and Scott being able to interject with his data sets and his knowledge base, I think we're going to be able to bring the listener a new light on these things and
Mm-hmm.
show them like how much more higher probability there is that this is an actual event, and what he saw is real.
Right. Yeah, like I said, quantifiable. And I think the opportunity of working with him, I think that's a great privilege, and I can see where this can go because our research, we've done a lot of cumulative data over the years. I mean, we did a lot of it for the university stuff, and then it never got formatted. So we have all the data, and it's all raw data. And part of that formatting is GIS related. So it's
Yep.
I know where everything is to the foot, and I want to represent all those finds and when things happen and what was seen where and where the tracks were and what was all done, and then be able to plot all that so the relationships of the movement can be seen.
Yeah.
How long were they in each spot? What were they doing? The whole nine yards, and to watch this pattern develop through that.
Well,
And so,
my hopes for the relationship of building this relationship between you and he is that your work could very well be impacted by
oh
what
yeah,
he does.
immensely.
If you provide him actual locations of where you're having your your research area, your experiences with this clan that you've had experience with, he may be able to go on and show you an unlikely but possible egress from that area to someplace you may not have even thought of them going to.
Right.
You know, I just think, if we go at this from the standpoint of all of your experience, boots on the ground, and all of his experience, he's actually seen, he had one stand out in front of him while he was hunting. I think he was hunting pig in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not um, I want to say he's not biased because he's gone and taken that experience and derived a way to create data sets to show the probability that these things are where people are saying they are.
Right.
Um,
I mean, with
and the
us,
other thing is,
I would
go ahead.
like to do this to where we can develop even an app based product or something like that that allows myself and my team not only to go back through these years and input everything into a system that will automatically plot it We just do the reference code, whether it be time, date, and then we could do a grid map or whatever to where
Right.
put in the information, and then it would add this to this interactive map. And then we could open the doors through something like this that other people, possibly we could develop an app or something that other people could get onto, and where they've had their sighting, classify it a certain way, blah, 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 and just enter it into the system.
Well,
And
Robert,
automatically.
This is what the Bigfoot Mapping Project is. It is literally an app that you can
Mm-hmm.
submit your sighting. It's also cross-referenced with all of the sightings in the BFRO. So not only is he inputting the sightings that are being given directly to him,
Mm-hmm.
but he's also cross-referenced with. So when you open up this app, and I think I don't want to misspeak, I think it's $1.99.
Right.
Maybe it's $2.99. But I mean, my whole family has it on their phones.
Well, I was thinking to go beyond that is what I was kind of thinking was, well, you've ever used Google Lens, correct? Yeah. And they have plant identifier and they have rock identifier and everything else. So I don't see a whole lot of reason why we couldn't, once we begin to input enough good data, let's say tracking. Okay, so not everyone can track. Very few people can actually actively track these things in real time. But they could if they had a tracker with them, right? So why not develop that type of an AI app? I mean, we could pay to have this done, but
oh, I see where you're going now.
Right, that it's part of the mapping system, but at the same time, I'm looking at what I'm finding and getting information back on what I'm seeing. It's like when Kathleen asked earlier about the brakes. Well, what if they could, while they're using the same system or it integrated with that mapping system, an app that tells them what they're looking at in the best, this is the best chance. Not a lot of people have quantifiable, again, whatever data on what works in the field as far as like active tracking, what sign means. Right. There's all kinds of supposition, and there's tons of great guesses and educated guesses. But as far as someone just going repeatedly each time they go out using the same type of brake to go get the same type of information, to get to the same whatever, right to the subject, if that's what it is, because naturally, if you can track, you're going to track to the subject eventually. You're actually going to run into what's at making the tracks. And so, but to give them that step up for that, so it's not just to replace to even just record the location of each event or sighting. What it begins is they're looking and taking a picture of a break or a twist or a snap. At the same time it's being evaluated, it's being logged. If it passes that evaluation test by the AI for as a break, well, then it logs it into the system. And now you have what kind of breaks are on what corridors, where's the scent and rubbing posts adjacent to the areas that they're occupying at that time. And so that's what I wanted to do initially. So you had this working, living map of activity, location, not just, we saw one here, we saw one there. That really doesn't interest me because these things are mobile and really mobile. It's one of their biggest traits is their mobility. And
I've watched enough of your content to know that you are out there often. And I've heard you multiple times saying, this is different than the last time I was out here. This wasn't here the last time I was out here. This has been moved, or, so even stuff as simple as that, to be able to enter in that kind of information, once, like you said, once there's enough data in there, it's going to start to paint a picture that you don't even though you went through all this expedition and all these collecting this data, you're probably not even aware of what this is going to produce for you.
Well, no, not in the end sum. I can see where it would go. And since we let evidence dictate its own meaning through what's inferred directly in the simplest possible explanation with an unbiased way, that's what happens when you set up an algorithmic situation, because it's not coloring anything. Now, the human sets the parameters for a go or no go, and that's where all the experience comes in that has been repeatable, quantifiable, repeatable. And you're right, the base information may not be that vast, but that's going to flower and grow quickly with an AI system, or an app set up on that would grow quickly in its not just its diversity and what it can tell you, but its accuracy. Because you're just going to get tons and tons and tons of repetitive. This led to this, led to this, and then how many times? I need to take a real quick break and say hi to a couple of people. And Davis just got in here, and he was on this particular expedition. But AZ Gold Hunter, I want to say hi to you. Local Squatch, how you doing? Thank you guys for popping in. It's good to see you guys in here. CES in the city, good to see you in here. A rock star, I don't know if I got to call you out or not. But Chris Davis, so good to see you in here, brother. I'm going to try to send you a link if you want one. He wants to join. Okay, I will generate and send Chris a link just a minute. I'm probably going to let you chat for just a second while I do this, Eric.
Hey, Maria Walker in the chat, she's asking what's the name of my channel. My podcast is called Uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I am on YouTube. I've only been doing the YouTube stuff for maybe about 6 months, 7 months. So there's some out there. But all of my audio is on there as well. Just look up Uncomfortable Podcast on YouTube, or if you want to listen to me on Spotify or Apple, you just search Uncomfortable Eric, and it'll come up. It'll be a square logo. It's a lowercase U and an uppercase N, and then underneath it says comfortable. And Tara, yes, you were right. You guys did meet Bodine at the Michigan Bigfoot Conference.
Oh, and thanks for addressing these. So yeah, let me get this over to Chris. And Chris, you're watching here. You should have this in just 2 seconds, I believe. Let's get this copied for you. And I'm sending this to your Facebook Messenger, the link to join, Chris. So you should see it in there now. Let me know if you've got that. And let me know in the comment thread if you got that. And as soon as you do, then I'll get you added in.
Oh, I'm actually wearing the logo, Maria.
Yeah, you are.
I didn't realize I had the hat on.
I had the shirt on yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah.
Aren't those the best shirts?
Yeah.
Those things are so damn comfortable.
Yeah, the second one I got from you, I think was the better one.
Yeah.
I think and it fits really, really good. It's like one of my favorite ones. I think the first one I got from you kind of fits me like wearing a dress, but the second one,
black one.
No, both of mine are green. They're different colors.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm going to hit a little bit of this. What's going on in here? What is the Lawton footage? Supposed to have been made during a Bigfoot commercial for a head shop? What is? Oh, I see. I got you. These guys are going over. So those of you that can't see the chat, that we have a lot of really interesting conversation always going on in the chat, and they're discussing different sightings, videos, and things, and then who it was attributed to eventually. So I'm reading what else we got in here. Wandering Star, good to see you in here. And Todd Wyndham, don't know if I got to say hi or not, but Todd, good to see you. Pyromedic, great to see you in here. That's awesome. Man, these are all my people, so it's good to see everybody jumping up. Yeah, okay, Chris.
Grandizer, I just want to say something real quick here.
Go.
Grandizer 12. Hi, KX. Did you discuss the Big Red Eye, a mysterious Sasquatch cryptid from Sussex County? I actually did an interview with a gentleman whose Bigfoot podcast is called The Big Red Eye. He is out there in New Jersey. And it was really interesting. That guy, he had some pretty he's boots on the ground, and he had some really interesting theories on there being like I think I can't remember if he said if there was 2 or 3 clans that he felt were in that Sussex County, and they rotated based on a kind of like in a clockwise position, a clockwise manner, because they would come through for a certain berry, and that berry would blossom multiple times a year. And the first clan would come through and decimate the berries and then move on. And then the next clan would come back through
Mm-hmm.
as those berries were repopulating the bushes again. And so that was
Mm-hmm.
a pretty interesting conversation.
Yeah, we see them doing that with gypsy moths when they're going to hatch, and then as well, but with the Russian olive and the type of stuff in the riverbeds too, they won't deplete every single thing, but they'll definitely affect their environment, and a lot of times they'll end up inadvertently running off the game, but they'll move, into a non-adjacent position. They'll move instead of being right next door, they'll move down a mile or two or whatever on a river body or whatever it is, and to get leave a pretty good gap in between where they were and where they go. And then they mix that up and move around based on where the game's at and where everything's the freshest and where they've had the least impact. So what do you think, Chris? Let me know what's going on with you, and I can kind of check. I believe I have to check in here to see if he's popping up or not.
Somebody said, local Squatch said you'd think potheads knew better than to fake a Bigfoot video. And I have to, I think I might have sent this to you, didn't I, Robert? The commercial that I did for Primo Danks.
Oh, just tell here. I got it. No, I don't remember that. You can need to send it to me again. I've got another deal going on here too. Thanks, but tell Chris that just click on the link. Just all you got to do is click on it. Even right there in Messenger, just click it and it'll take him where he needs to go.
Yeah, I got the opportunity to do a commercial with some guys for Primo Danks, the dankiest weed.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
The whole premise of it is these two guys at a state park, and they look back at their campsite, and there's a Bigfoot, but the Bigfoot is all pixelated, so you can't see it. It's all out of focus. And the one guy pulls his phone out to record it, and he's like, "Oh, I can't seem to focus on it." And the whole thing is to stay focused with Primo Dank. So I got to do the radio voiceover at the end where the promotion is.
Nice.
That was a lot of fun.
That sounds great. It's talking about that too. So we've had some offers to send us products and for us to put them on, to use them or whatever, and back massagers and got all kinds of stuff. And but only one company, and I have not promoted anything for them yet. And they did send me a sample product and whatnot, but I'm not really. So it's an edibles company for THC CBD edibles, and I don't really do edibles or whatever. So myself, but the company are really tremendously great people. But I didn't know how to basically promote them without people potentially seeing a problem with it or being prejudiced toward
Right.
it or whatever, because it's not widely accepted, even though it's all medical backed and whatever. But anyway, I think it's funny because the only company that has really come forward and said, man, and they bugged me, I mean, bugged me for over a year to, we want you to talk about our stuff. We want you to blah, blah, blah. We really love what you do and the way you do it and how honest you are and straight up and whatever. And it's a company called Sherpa. And I would think I probably will eventually, just because they're a good company and they're just not out there on the limelight. Jumped in real quick to make the quick buck. They were involved in this for a long time before, I guess. So,
Yeah.
but I thought it was interesting that the only company that's really stepped forward and offered to go ahead and give a decent profit sharing and this and all that was an edibles company. So, and hats off to them. They're great people. They seem like wonderful people.
The money is there for those guys. So, I've had some experiences with some companies that I've done ads for. Manscaped was one I did quite a while with, and they paid their bill. They were easy to work with in that they sent you a loose script, let you just create your own, as long as you touched on this, and this, they were fine with it. But man, if you had a question, trying to get a hold of them and get somebody to respond to, it just, they were awful,
Really?
absolutely awful. And it just got to be a headache. And I was like, I couldn't do it. you know, it's nice to generate a little bit of revenue
Yeah.
by doing those, but when it becomes more of a pain in the ass, then it's sometimes it's just not worth it.
Oh, I know. And like some of the stuff we've been offered, actually, we really, really could put it to use. There was a company wanted to send us an electric water filter. And I probably would do that, except, these videos stay up forever and they want us to incorporate it within our own video structure. And I think that, we weren't really offered, a link where we get a percentage of the sale, anything like that. And I think that would be fair. They were going to let us, I believe, keep the product or whatever, and that's cool. But, I'm more into, sharing with a company. I want someone that's going to come up and say, you got a link 10% off your guys. That's great. They give my viewers percentage off, but I wouldn't mind making a percentage as well. And because this video is not going anywhere, it's going to be repeatedly seen over and over and over and over and over. It's not a one-time thing.
Right.
It's not like a commercial that airs 30 days and you never see it again. And so
the way it usually works is they'll take a look at your they'll take a look at your history as far as, how many views or how many listens you get in a 3-month period or a 6-month period. And that usually is what determines the ROI for them, the return on investment. So they will come to you and they will have a static offer that says, if you do a 30-second audio promoting our Manscaped 4.0, we'll pay you $250 a month. And, if I have 30,000, 35,000 listens in a month, that's great. But if only 2 people buy using the uncomfortable code that they provide me, that's how they track, is my audience buying their product? And, at a point you get saturated, right? I'm not growing in leaps and bounds, into the millions of people. So, when you have 35,000 people a month that listen to you, at a point, you're going to sell all you can sell. And then it's no longer, there's no return on investment for you. So,
okay, and we have Chris joining us now, I believe. But Chris, I think I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear, actually. Or I believe we all can hear you loud and clear. I can't. Do you have video up and running or no?
I'm trying to see what's up with it here.
Oh, well, everybody, this is Chris Davis. He's KX team member. This is who I went and did the stuff with up in Oklahoma recently. So him and Dave Sappington. So we'll get Chris going up there. Why don't you introduce yourself, Chris?
Hey, Chris Davis from Northeast Oklahoma. I live over in Southwest Missouri right now, but it's all real close area: Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri.
Nice to meet you, Chris.
And I met Chris at the Moon Lake gathering. I had to actually text Tara and have her bring some milk to this cat before he's rather large and he's going to jump up in my screen here in about 2 seconds. But so I met Chris at the Moon Lake gathering the first time that I was taken up there. And personally, we had been online, for a long time as a follower of our work and everything. And I wanted the first time I met him just for him to be part of the team. And then for a year, we kind of went by and didn't get anything done. And so this last time around, we did Phenomicon and we did some other stuff up in Utah. Then we got back and did this one in Missouri. I mean, in the Ozarks there, Missouri. And then, he met us up there because he lives in southern Missouri border, right on the Oklahoma border. And then Dave Sappington lives just over that. And Chris brought Dave up. And Dave's a tremendous guy, too. So we got the first opportunity to go out and to do the Devil's Holler deal. So, and hi, Liam. I see Liam there, too. What's going on, buddy? All right, good to see you on here. Feel free to say whatever you want. You were there, too. So Eric, I want to shift over now and start kind of talking about our latest thing we just went and kind of saw, and what we did
I'm
on
glad
that.
because I actually got a chance to watch that 2 days ago.
You did.
Yep.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna kind of stick everybody. I think this lets me do this. Nothing fancy. So I'm gonna shift us all over here, and we'll bring up some video and things. Now's the time that if anyone in the chat specifically wants to see a portion of the video itself, we can bring that up, and whatever you guys want to see. So, hit. Oh, where's my picture at here? Let's get that shut off. So many screens to deal with. Man, I could use a producer over here going through all this stuff. This is crazy.
Tara, where you at?
Yeah, right. That's not really her gig. She needs to be on the camera with us. She's the looker of the whole thing, right? It's not me. So, but anyway, yeah. So let's see. I think to start off, I know that people want to see the segment that I walk by the critter. I'm sure they probably want to get a look at that, of anything. So I'm going to bring this up. So, and we'll see. I got to shut off all kinds of screens here. Oh, where it is on the screen. Man, I love it when a plan comes together. Oh, thank you very much. All right. See, Tara saves the day. I couldn't do this without her. She got the cat's milk. So before they rip my throat out right on the show here. So yeah, this is the cut we're talking about. And at one point, Chris, I believe when Dave said he smelled something, and then you were up there with him, you should have been, I believe, there's this clump right here, right? And we came down that side of it, and then we came you guys went this way, and then he followed me down. And I think you were right on top of that right there in that clip I'll show in a minute. And if so, then he would have been right below you. Like,
yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out from that clip, or from that still that you had there. Was what the distance was from where me and Dave walked, because we walked just right above that area.
yeah, I think that if I let me let this thing play for a second. So I'm getting used to switching screens. We'll get up. Okay, so now he comes into frame. And we'll put our infamous red circle back around him. So that's him. Yeah, so when I'm going to change to another cut here in just a second, but we just keep this knob. You remember that was a kind of a knob that stuck out? And then right below me is the start of some logs here on the ground. But go ahead.
I just can't see what what you're showing up there. I just see us three. That's all I see.
You don't see the screen?
Chris,
Okay.
The only way I'm seeing the screen is by opening up another window on my computer and actually having YouTube pulled up.
Are you on your phone or a PC, Chris?
Yeah, my laptop.
Yeah, see if you can do both. You might be able to pull up. If it doesn't work both on the laptop, if it starts to lock up or anything, you can actually get on your phone and then go to the YouTube on the phone while we're doing this.
Okay.
I'm going to touch a little bit of the chat real quick because we're getting into these. What's up, Chris? This is on 2 Missouri in the house. Tara. Oh, King David, good to see you. Just noticed. Yeah, the owls. So we'll go through the owl stuff. And when we do that, I recommend if anybody has headphones, you should put them on, because the nuance of what we hear in those owls is the thing.
I'd be interested when you get to that part, because I think I have audio on my phone from the Huron-Manistee National Forest when I was on a kayak trip. And the three of us were sitting at a campfire, and it was 11:30, dark as hell. And we heard 3 owls, and it literally sounded like a guy going, "Woo."
Yeah,
But
that's
I had one that was behind us on the same side of the river, I believe. Then we had one that was across the river, directly across from us. And then we had one up further ahead of us, but I couldn't tell which side that was on. And they always went, ooh, ooh, ooh. And it was always the one in back and the one across and then the one in front. And it did that multiple times. I got a recording of it on my phone. And then out of the three of us, the one guy that we were with, he had been drinking all freaking day. And he got up and he's like, I'm done. I'm going to go pass out. So he goes, gets in his hammock and he passes out. And then it's just John and I sitting at the fire. Now there's two of us. No owls. But all of a sudden we hear whack, whack, 2 times. And then a long pause.
Mm-hmm.
And then we hear whack, whack, 2. And I was like, I looked at John. John said, is that a tree break or a tree knock? And I said, sounds like a tree knock.
Right.
And it was like later that night, we had both went to our hammocks, and you could hear the water running in the river. You know, I mean, we were 30 feet off the river. You could hear the water running. But then you started hearing these boosh, bloop, boosh, bloop. That sound that water makes when you throw a big rock into the water.
Yeah, kabloosh,
and
yeah.
you get that boop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, my brain's going a million miles an hour now. And I'm like, all right, so we had owls that didn't sound like owls. Then we had tree knocks. When the owls were there, it was always in a pattern of 3. And there were 3 of us visible by the firelight. Then the one guy gets up and he goes to bed. And then there's only 2 of us at the firelight. And then we're hearing 2 knocks repeatedly. And I'm like, are they fucking counting?
Weird. Right.
Is that
right?
Is that their way of like, okay, there's 3. Okay, now there's 2. And then, you know, so in the middle of Michigan, where the Huron Manistee is, you know, I'm not a big time hunter, so I can't tell you what everything that lives in those woods.
Right.
You know, muskrat. I don't know I doubt if there's otters, but maybe there's otters. Or I don't know what the fuck would come off of the land and jump into the water.
Right.
I'm sure there's a few things, but
yeah.
you know,
not usually not usually anything that goes kaploosh though. I mean,
yeah, even if it's fish coming up and getting bugs off the surface of the water, they'll breach the water. They'll come up and they'll turn onto their side. They'll grab and then they go back down. So you'll hear a little bit of a water break.
Right.
But nothing that is like literally sounded like somebody was standing there taking maybe a little bit bigger than a softball sized rock or stone and just throwing it into the river.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we all know what that sounds like. That's why it's not, when you hear, that's kind of what we're saying about not going out on a limb. If it sounds like a rock going into a river, we know what that sounds like. It's a kaploosh, you know, that follow up.
We've all done it as a kid.
Yeah. So it's not like you have to go far and justify it even. It's like, okay, I heard him throw a rock in the river. If somebody says, how do you know it was a rock in the river? You say, well, I've heard 10,000 rocks in the river. It's kind of like, the argument of that is mundane at that point. It's like somebody could say, are you sure? Then you say yes. Or it's, are you sure? And you say, well, I think so. It's kind of like when you're sure and you hear kaplunge, we know what that is. I mean, you can do it with your hands, kaplunge in a pool. But you still know it's an object completely, you know, it's not just a step into the water is what kind of what we're saying. But hey, Chris has got his video now. So you can see where my red circle is, correct, Chriso?
Yes.
Yeah, so, and then where I'm going to move that red circle, I don't know if you get lag time between me and you or not, so it shouldn't be long. But I believe where you guys were standing was right there. when you see that circle move.
Yeah, it's lagging a little bit. I don't
Yeah,
see
it could take 30 seconds even.
Okay.
Kerplunk. Yeah, local Sasquatch. That's perfect. And Pat, hi. Thanks for joining us, man. Good to see your deal. Yeah, so okay, I see it on YouTube now. I'm watching YouTube too. I'm glad I got this computer because it'll sure do a lot of stuff at once. I'm happy for that. Best $175 I ever spent. But yeah, it's
Yeah, it moved. I see.
okay. So now where it's located now, that is where I think you were standing when I was down below video, and you made some kind of comment. I don't know what it was, but Dave, he smelled it right up there before you walked up to that spot, right? Was it before?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys were right near each other, I think. How far was Dave when? I'll show you this clip in a minute, and you can tell me how far Dave was away from you. But when you guys were standing up there, were you guys pretty close to each other?
Well, I come around. He came down a different way, so I came through more from the top right there. But he was seeing what he thought might have been knuckle prints there coming up that hillside in the dirt. And then we were quite a distance away when he said that he had that smell. So I think I might have joined him just maybe where you're talking about on the circle right there,
Mm-hmm.
just after that, just right around there somewhere. But I was up more at the top.
Let me I'm gonna grab the other clip where, oh boy, I think it's this one. Let's zip in here and find out. No, see, just above me to my left right there. I think these should be the shortened clips. Thanks for your patience, everybody, as usual. You know how Enigma Recon goes. I believe we're going to go into this one.
All right, I don't think
No,
if we did cut it.
that's certainly not it. Let's see where we at here. These are all the trimmed ones. I may just have to go in the original to go ahead and pull it so it shows up. So this is the clip.
What's it smell like?
So right there you are in the frame. Well, let me get back to this other window. Where are we? Okay, so in the frame, you are that black thing right there. Now, do you see the logs here? And once it shows up for you, I know it's going to take just a second. And thanks for all your patience, everybody, while we do this, because this is the first time I've had to talk to Chris about this and verify where this subject is according to where it was smelled, where I walked, where Chris is walking, because you're going to flip out where you see this thing's at, dude. Yeah, you too, Liam, because next time I'm putting you on a rope because he was too close to you for comfort, even though I'm sure he's not mean and there was no danger. But plus, I mean, you're right standing on top of him packing, you know. So, but we should have been good. But yeah, it was too close for comfort, if you ask me, really. I tell people that.
Pretty clear right there. I see the circle now. Yeah.
Okay, so that's you. In the very center of that circle is you. Now.
Yeah, that looks like.
Now, notice the logs down below you, down slope, just straight down slope, the end of those logs?
Yes.
Okay. I'm walking past those logs when I'm doing the video and looking up back behind me at an angle, looking right below where you're standing. So where you're standing, that tree that comes out below you at an angle, that's the one that's above him. So right in that picture, he should be about 15 feet, about not quite halfway down that slope. Right there in the bushes from your position. He should be in there right now during that clip. And Dave's saying, I could smell something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty thick right there up from that side too. So
Yeah.
You can't hardly see.
Yeah, and what I thought was interesting is where we went down, it's just like a little protrusion to where all he had to do is duck around and below it. you know, and then there's no reason we would try to paw off the edge of that tree and down through that thick crap. So it's pretty safe. I'm going to play this clip real quick for everybody.
So he's got into some real stinky, skunky smelling something right there. Those guys are just up on the bank about 60 feet up in here. I can just barely see Chris through the trees. Dave said he's got trail. And he said he's smelling some really skunky shit.
So this weekend,
kind of like a beaver smell.
Me and Dave and Liam, we're going to go
Which is a wet,
camping
musty.
out there, kind of in between that cabin and in this property here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so we're actually going to try to get some footage of the Hornet spook light out there.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, and see, people don't realize these areas are known for a lot more than just the Bigfoot stuff, right? I mean, a lot more. So it's kind of weird that we doing it the way we're doing it with the video lagging between everyone, but I think it's kind of cool. I'm going to move on to, since everybody can kind of see there, I'm going to show them with the circle. It'll take a minute for you to be able to see this, Chris, on your screen, but the logs that are now I'm circling right now at the base is I'm walking in the next clip. The one where we see the video, about right where the sunshine hits the logs right here is where this video clip starts. And we're looking back up over my shoulder this way. And I want you guys to kind of note what looks like this tree and stuff. And you'll see just really, it'll kind of give you a graphic understanding of just how close those guys were, really. I mean, or all of us, really, because we went below him. We could have been 20 feet below him. You were like 12 feet above him. So let me grab this. Yeah, it was. That's why I say almost a little too close for. Okay, let's go ahead and play this out then.
How far is that from where you came up at that rock right there?
Well, see, it's actually.
Get over here. We'll climb back out of this.
It's actually right. So I mean, I don't even know if you were 12 feet above him, Chris. You were like right on top of him. Because right now, and you'll see it pop up when it does. Let me get my circle back. He's standing right here or crouched right here, and the tree I'm showing is the tree that goes off at an angle. You were right on top of it, so I can't even put 12 feet between you and it. And you'll see when it catches up then. And where these...
I've seen you walk.
Yeah, and you can see where the sunlight is coming across the ground at this angle, and then it's coming right down to me. So it's the sunlight's coming right here across my feet. So I'm at the base of that sunlight, looking back up at that angle. There's the bottom tree. There's the top one. You were standing right behind the top tree, and it's right under the bottom tree.
Wow.
So once that catches up to you, it's going to probably blow your mind. That is insane. What do you think of that, Eric?
You know, I've got it in a small window here.
Mm-hmm. Just can you see the relationship of how close we're saying?
Very much so. Yeah, very much so.
You know, what's interesting is we followed sign. Go ahead.
What could that have been? How many feet apart?
Well, from Chris right there, 12 feet.
12 feet and what?
15
probably
maybe.
10 to 12 foot elevation difference?
No, it's probably, if from my feet, 20 feet to his position. But of course, from my head, 14, right? Or 15 or whatever. So, yeah, right. It almost sandwiched between us. But, you know, what's really gives a lot of validation to me, and we do this over and over, is we tracked movement in various directions up through there. And we'll show a little bit of that. But what really was going on was we were tracking to a sound source, but this movement, the tracking we were following, ended up going within feet of the subject. Right? So by following the tracking, we ended up right to him. I mean, literally right to him. We didn't drop in, but when we came into this deal and broke over, we were maybe 30 feet to the what would be looking now to our left of his position, maybe when we dropped in. Then those guys walked laterally. So, you know, he came in, moved laterally, went down and ducked. We came in, moved laterally and just straight down, and basically went right around him on both sides, looks like. But I want you could
Like from your experience, you know, so many times you hear in people having experiences that either they walk up and boom, they're there, and they turn around and they just saunter off, or they, you know, they walk 10 feet and then they disappear into a mist, or, you know, they're just gone. So like typically when you talk to somebody, they seem to want to leave the area, but like what you're showing here, it doesn't seem to be the case. It seems like they're more interested in stealthily, you know, just hide in plain sight. Is that more typical?
yes. Matter of fact, this is what we expect. This is 90% of the behavior that we predict is exactly like this. This is why I tell people a lot of times when they think they vanish, you'll walk right on top of them. They didn't vanish; they just didn't go anywhere. And I mean, we're not that good. Quit acting like we're so good that they had to vanish into thin air if it eluded us. It's not hard to elude us at all, and let alone for something like this. So a pro that's been taught it the tactics of evasion can disappear in almost anywhere. So these things are like this, and they don't disappear. That's why it's important to, I guess, that's why it's like this app thing we talked about, or the getting the information on how to do this, to actively track and to track to a subject. So what I was going to say before is the unique part about what I experienced in this is I saw no sign beyond the top of the hill where the plant was all broken. There was no sign going down the hill. Okay, so, and there was no sign continuing from there, not that fresh, not something hours old.
So that tells you that it's still in the area?
Yeah. I mean, I tracked right past it because I tracked to last sign, which was a very fresh, soft bodied plant that should have wilted in just a couple hours when you break those in that heat. It was hot. And the leaves weren't wilted at all, meaning it was down 15, 20 minutes, whatever. Probably within the time we were out there, it was down. But there was no marks of progression downward at all. So it would have had to gone lateral from that point, which would have been about the same height up the bank as it's seeing now. Because I was already over the edge a little when I found that plant. Then I had to go down the slide. So he's right above that. So, I mean, we're talking on the money. But it just goes to show that, you know, once you learn to be a tracker too and start doing this, and let's say we make an app and people start using it, it's going to be like Randonautica. It's going to lead you to crap you may not want to really go to.
Yeah.
I mean,
be careful what you ask for.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, they say, oh, well, here, you can find them if you do this. I don't want to find them. You know, finding them is the thing that's scary as hell and could get you ripped in half. I don't know. Whatever. But finding them's not that fun. It's really not. So it's really fun looking for them, but be careful what you ask for because it's not that fun finding them. And so in a situation like this, though, if you do this repetitively, you're going to find them. You're going to run into them. What's that, bud?
So, Robert, that picture you have pulled up right now, just go over, because I know what I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what you're seeing.
Well, you know,
I'm seeing a nose. I'm seeing the ocular orbit of an eye inset. I'm seeing an eyebrow.
Well, you know, I didn't go that far, to be honest with you. I mean, because what I'm looking at is the color frequency, and then the edging that's in spite of foliage that's repeating. And it has to be in spite of the foliage. So in other words, foliage cannot be a part of it. So it's got to exist in spite of the foliage. And, you know,
right there. Don't move it.
Up here?
Oh, nope.
Where at? There's going to be a lag time. I could put it back here.
No, go right over. Stop.
Okay, now there's going to be too big of a lag. So you tell me.
Okay, stop right there.
Okay, I'm held in position. But it might take 30 seconds for you to see where I'm held. Basically right on center of mass.
Okay. I'm waiting for the video to catch up.
And I don't usually smoke on these streams, but I am now because for some reason we've been inundated with mosquitoes. Even though we have no water anywhere, we've been overtaken by mosquitoes and they won't leave me alone. So that works.
Okay, so leave the circle where it's at, and I'm going to tell you what I see.
Okay.
And I want to know that, like, is this my pareidolia, or are you seeing the same things? So in the very lower left hemisphere of that circle, I'm seeing a 2/3 of a very wide nose. The nostril comes more into the circle. I'm seeing about dead center of that red circle. I'm seeing an indentation that would indicate to me an ocular orbit where your eye sets back in your skull.
Mm-hmm.
And then to the right of the to the right side of the lower hemisphere of the circle, I see what looks like the fatty part of the cheeks that come out alongside the nose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think we're on the same page. If I usually won't do this, but I enlarge the circle a little bit to fit the whole thing within it. And
But
where I have it now would be the left orbital, would be the left eye socket in the very center of the circle.
And the left 2/3 of the nose.
Yeah. So, yeah, something like that. But like I said, I don't know. Earlier I said I don't know if that's an arm covering face except for the eyes. There's a lateral lighter area that could be the bottom of the arm edge. So we could have an arm in front of the entire face except with the two eyes looking over the arm. Because I do see a value difference in the color frequency, not necessarily in the contrast. But and I haven't really worked on that yet. We could actually work on that and see what that is. But that's what it looks like to me. It looks like I have a somewhat round of the top of the head. And then I have a little bit of hair on the forehead, not much. And then I have a basically bald right above brow. And then I have very dark two ocular areas, the eyes. And then but I lose a lot from there and I have to suppose. So, but I do see a lateral feature across the front of the face almost. And I don't wonder if that's the forearm. Because I can definitely see the side of the cheekbone below what its left eye socket would be.
See, I see what you're saying as far as the forearm, but the face that I'm seeing, that forearm would not be big enough.
Right. Yeah, and I get that too. That's why I was kind of wondering if it wasn't just like the wrist area or something like maybe like this in front of the face.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's supposition from that point. Well, without a lot of work and filtering, a lot could be pulled out. And then there is another area up here that's odd, and it has the edges have the right color value, and that's up in the fork of the tree. You'll see the circle change position here in a minute. And I mean, if I want to go pareidolia looking, I can see a face looking right there, but in the face itself is comprised of color values that I can find in the foliage. So really, if I don't do the pareidolia trip, what I do see is a matching color frequency of somewhat of part of an object or body behind that foliage. But what the detail we see in it is probably leaf structure. But it looks like it's either the same one or another one tucked in there with it. I mean, that's my best guess to that, because something is up there above it that's got the same value, and there's definitely a definition line in spite of the foliage. So I just don't know if he's laying down, if that's part of the same critter, if that's a different critter. It's hard to tell. And like we say, it's supposition because you know how it goes. We can see patterns. Yeah. So it really makes it really tough. But you were going to say something a minute ago, Chris, and we kind of talked over you. What were you going to add?
It's when y'all were talking about disappearing and like mysteriously disappearing. Well, cats. You know, I've seen large cats in this area, large mountain lions, big cats, and big bobcats, and those I've only seen in an open field where they're walking across an open field. And then I've spent a lot of time in the woods, along the creek, in the caves, in overhangs, and I've never seen one. Never seen a cat. I've heard one time at night, but as far as being out in the woods, and I spend a lot of time in the woods. That's what me and Liam do on the weekends. Anytime it's nice, we're out looking at overhangs, going to caves, and never ran into a cat. And they're out there. They've got to be out there, and we've probably walked right past them, but we're not videoing all the time, you know. So you be hiding anywhere, maybe up in the tree or crouched down, you know. But they're out there,
Right.
You just never see them in the woods.
Well, and it's something to add to that too. I mean, this may sound a little funny, but anybody who owns house cats, especially cantankerous ones, we have a big gray male house cat named Creature, and he's vanished in the house. He's not small, and we were worried about him one time because a bunch of shit went on. I think we had an owl out in the yard or something weird. But anyway, we hunted for him in the house, and there's just nowhere he could have gone. I mean, we looked absolutely everywhere. Cupboards, I mean, just thinking anything. Gone cat, right? Yeah, I mean, we're to the point where it's like 10 hours later, everybody's like, man, Creech's history, you know, whatever. And then he comes sauntering across the floor, stretching like he just woke up, like out of a, like he, of course, ignored all the yelling his name and all that stuff. He just laid somewhere and ignored it all. But the point was the ability for something to vanish to where we don't think it's there, even in our own environment, where we know every cubby, every hole, everywhere it could be, it was not. You could have dropped that cat out of a portal, man, because it was not in the house. At least that's what we would swear, because we had 3 people that checked everywhere. And this is not a little cat. He's a huge cat. So it's just like this, another example. It may seem mundane, but it's an example of, just like you said, you know, cats are out there. They're everywhere. They run the same territory over and over and over again. You can go in the same canyons for 10 years, 15 years. You never see the cat, but there's a cat in there with you. And he's probably been in there with you, around you, smelling you every time you've gone in there. So, and these things are far beyond a cat. And plus there's not near as many of these, I would assume, as there are cats either. You know, they have about the same range. I've noticed that. A very similar range, 100 square miles, something like that, which is not that far. It's only 10 miles by 10 miles. You know, and Eric, you mentioned that you had activity, or that the man we're going to be dealing with had activity follow him back.
Yes.
And so it's the same thing here. This is less than 2 miles from where we stayed at Dave's cabin. And this is all rural, though, and forested along the same river. So the propensity that they've seen Dave building his cabin through the years and occupying it through the years is super highly likely, since this is kind of a natural travel corridor would be along the tops along this river system. Right. You're going to go right across Dave's place. And so it's highly likely these subjects have seen Dave before. And so when we go in there, Dave's walking around, it's very likely that they recognize Dave, because we had activity directly that evening. And it took till it was 12:40, I think. Dave was already in bed before the subject, whichever one, chucked either a rock or a very hard piece of wood, something, sounded like a rock. It hit the top of the metal awning above us. I mean, enough to where it was obvious, like, I'm here, you know, and we heard a natural owl hoot before it happened. And when it happened, we heard an owl hoot that sounded like they sounded earlier. Like the first one was just normal. They're going, ooh, like, you know, I don't know. It sounded like an owl, but I don't know. This guy, if this is the one that Dave heard the last round, like Dave said, that one's not a very good owl. If this is coming for, this is the direction was there, this subject would be. And if that was true, this guy does not do an owl near as good as his partners do. I know that. So,
while you're on the subject of the owls, I've got that audio pulled up. I can pipe it in through my Roadcaster. Let me.
His owl, or Which owl
The
recording is
one
this?
that I recorded.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, because we can run the next segment. We can play these owls.
All right, let's see if this works.
I was always talking to him. He was like, dude, there are people in the woods making owl noises. I was like, no. He goes, no, they sound so fake. Let me get a.
Hi, buddy.
You able to hear that?
Yeah, that sounds. Yeah, that sounds just like one of the ones that was out there. Just like it.
You know, and it just doesn't sound like a normal owl.
Mm-mm. I agree.
There's a drawl at the end of it that's
Well, you hear me say that during this video, which will bring up a segment, and this is going to go to a pretty long show, but I really don't care. I mean, if people want to stick and watch, that's cool. I have 52 people on right now. That's neat. Appreciate everybody's time. I don't have these marked for like where the owls exactly are in the segment. So, but I do know approximately. It wasn't long after we got in there. I know that. So, play with this one real quick. Oh. Now there's Chris, forever immortalized. So, where were we? About maybe here?
Something we just noticed is this foliage has been here.
Whenever I just got on, I heard
Come
Eric
through and
talking
busted that
about
one.
the owls, so I didn't know what all.
And that's at about
covered,
5.5.
discussing the owls.
And of course, this
But
one's
he'd mentioned something about tree knock and then hearing an owl.
Yeah, when we first Chris, when we first got kind of sitting around our fire, there were three of us, and while there were three of us, we had three owls that were going back and forth, and it was always the one behind us, the one across from us, and then the one ahead of us, and then it would go back to the one behind us, across from us, ahead of us, and each time it was only three owls. But then the one guy, he got pissed drunk and he went to pass out in his hammock. And then it was just two of us sitting at the fire. So picture being across the river, looking at that fire, you'd see two dark silhouettes instead of three. And then shortly after that, that's when we started hearing the tree knocks, and the tree knocks were happening in series of two. So it was knock, knock. And then that's what got me to start thinking is like, was the owl noise a count off that there were three of us there because it was three owls. And then when the one guy got up and left, then there were two of us. And now we had two tree knocks and two tree knocks and two tree knocks. And it's like, is that are they sending a message? Is it the communication that now there's two of them? There were three, now there's two. I don't know. It was very strange.
Like
Yeah.
type of Morse code type of.
something we just noticed is
I mean,
So
that's possible.
that reminds.
Go ahead, you guys. What
That
I'm doing right
reminds
now
me-
on the backside, just a second, Chris. What I'm doing right now on the backside while you guys are chatting is I'm just hunting for the segment where we recognize the owls. But go ahead and talk, Chris, while I'm doing this.
But yeah, that reminds me. We had heard when we were sitting out there in the dark after we went down to this area here. We heard the owl making the regular hoot owl sound.
Yeah.
And I thought I heard something hit a tree, like a tree knock. But later, probably 20 minutes later, when the rock or whatever that was that hit the roof, and it was loud, there was that warning sound that an owl makes. And this was an owl that was closer than the one that we had heard before. And it made that sound, and then bam, that rock hit.
Interesting.
And yeah, so that made me look in that direction of where the owl had made its noise from, because they'll make a sound if there's a predator. But also, y'all are talking about the mimicking. This could very well be something like that going on too.
Yeah.
um, and what makes me think about that is, earlier when I said that the owl made the regular hoot owl sound, then the tree knock, there was a loud noise down there, and the owl didn't make a sound that there was a predator in the woods at that time, until 20 minutes later, whenever the roof was hit. Then another owl made that distinct different sound. It's just
See,
interesting.
that's where I'm at a extreme disadvantage, because I've hunted a little bit. I'm not one of those guys that's going to say I've spent my whole life hunting. Well, no, you've spent a couple of weeks each year hunting, but okay, you've hunted your whole life. I'm not even a boots on the ground investigator. I mean, I host a podcast. I talk to people who have had experiences. So, but I've been following this topic since I was 7. And, like over the course of years of reading experiences and just getting everything I can about this topic, I mean, that shit in Huron Manistee National Forest did not sound. It sounded like a normal pair of vocal cords trying to sound like a owl.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good way to put it too. And I found the clip. I'm sure this is it where the owl stuff starts. That's a good way to put it, because even in my experience in the past, I've heard everything, every kind of critter you can imagine. Leopard frogs when it's 5 degrees below zero. Like it's not a leopard frog, he's frozen solid, right? But I've heard, and then change up, do different animals and things, and they're almost always, I mean, some of the buzzing, clicking sounds they make don't have that quality, because I think it's all mouth. But anytime that they do anything where they're bringing air up through their larynx, I think you're going to hear that tone, that hollow, because you can't avoid it. And that's one way to study audio. And I don't know acoustics as well, especially bioacoustics, but we could learn it. And because there's a formula within the spectrograph where you can actually equate how long and the length and diameter of the larynx by the signature in the sound. So that's what we're picking up on. And then, of course, anytime you have a ooh, that's fine. But when it goes ooh, ah, when you have the wah, anytime you got wah, there's nothing out there going ah. That sound and they do it, that's frequently at the end or in a component of it. And then you hear the human part like, holy shit. Like, that's a dude, man. That's a dude. And that's kind of what I got during one of these. And I mentioned that during this is, at the end it went hoo hoo ah, not quite the ah down at the bottom, hoo hoo, but you could hear the it's like, that's not an owl. That came from a big larynx. That came a large set of lungs. It's like, that's either, if it's an owl, it's 5 feet tall. It's like, because it has amplitude, there's an echo to it. You just don't hear that kind of stuff. But let's roll this. And I know don't worry about what comes up on the backside. I think you guys, I don't know if you can't hear the computer audio, I guess, either, until you get it back on your other end. I don't know how that works with this. If not, we'll have to play with all this someday and see what we can do with it. But I'm going to roll right now the audio segment. So we'll just we'll go Robert, ahead. Yeah.
I think that if I turn up the volume on my screen for the video, we will be able to hear it.
Well, I think you will at now the viewers can hear everything. But for you guys, I just want to make sure, you could hear, but I don't think you're going to be able to hear it live. I think you're going to have to wait and hear it on the playback on the YouTube side. But that's fine, because we got a 30-second lag. I think everybody's kind of used to that. Digger Dog, I love it. I just saw this comment. It says, I have the 600-pound owl. And then here in a minute, you guys, we'll go back through some of the chat too. So I see there's a couple of added people, friendly YouTuber and some others. So, okay, so I'm going to start right here. And this is where Dave comes into question. I think we've just looked at this, the tree that had the 4 breaks on it. The first signpost. I think it's right behind me when I do this shot here. And so it's really kind of cool if you look at it this way too, is right when we identify their signpost, they start alerting. And that, I don't know if we're being watched at this time and it's like, oh shit, we're busted. Or if it's a coincidence, I don't know. But let's go ahead and roll through this, and let me get the audio back on, make sure it's cranked. Okay. Here we go.
Yeah, Dave's got a fresh break right here. We got sound back off here. Of course, that don't sound no heavier than a deer.
No, that over there is a good one for that fucking wedge there.
Now, I stopped it for a second here. So Dave just said, I said, this over behind you doesn't sound any bigger than a deer. But he said, no, but that over there did. And he's hearing footsteps. And the direction he's pointing is the direction that we followed the subject that we believe we got on camera. So I'm going to continue.
Lead in over there a little bit then. So just off this way. Look, it's thick right here too.
Yeah, let's just spread it right here. Let's just push over.
Push down, yep. See, and they got a lot of these out here. You see the thorns on them dudes. That's why we wear shorts. That way you can tell when things are connecting with you. Oh, that's a joke. I don't see any movement though. Yeah, here I've got some tip, a couple of tips at about 6 or 5.5. And then let's see what else we got. I think we're on it right here, Dave.
Now you guys might be hearing a kind of a bell sound like dong, dong. That's his metal canteen. So, and I'm not positive this is the clip, but I believe it is.
You can see plenty of, you can see the damage pushed through here. And you see how these are all laid over weird directions, and you have kinks like this. Another kink right by it, that's from a weight coming down into the grass.
There's the cedar I've seen. It's that cedar right there. That's where I've seen it about 4 years ago.
So that cedar tree right in there, that darker mass right in front of us there.
That's where I've seen it pass,
That-
and it never.
What'd you see over there? Tell me real
I've
quick.
seen a black movement go on this side, get behind the cedar, and disappear
Disappeared.
till dark.
And that was right in front of me. About that cedar he's talking about's about 60 feet from us. Ah, darn it. Well, you gotta watch these dudes, man. They are brutal. What a beautiful spot. Oh yeah, look at all the step over. So you can see punches through this.
Yeah.
Something we just noticed is This foliage has been bent down. You can see where it's bent over, and it's actually locked in.
While you're going through
When
that, looking for what you're looking for, I wanted to ask you something. So many times you hear people talk about these thunderous footsteps, right?
Oh yeah, crows do the same damn thing. Well, I'm sorry, guys. My audio is off. So, Eric, you were just talking to me.
Yeah, I didn't know if I lost you or not.
No, well, everybody did because I had my audio off while I was trying to look for it.
Okay. You always hear these experiencers that they talk about these thunderous footsteps, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, okay, makes sense. If you got something that's 600-700 pounds, maybe 800 pounds, it would make sense that, pretty heavy footsteps. But I was at a zoo about a month ago here locally, and they have a rhinoceros. I don't know how much that rhinoceros weighs, but he was goddamn big.
Right.
And his enclosure allowed me to stand less than 15 feet away from where he was walking. I was raised up above him, but nevertheless, he came walking past where I was at.
Mm-hmm.
Dirt, some twigs. You could not hear that animal move. How can something in the weight range of what we're talking about generate those thunderous footsteps that people can hear and feel? And this thing that is arguably 4 or 5, maybe 6 times that weight can walk past you and literally not make any more noise than a person does when it walks by.
It's creeping. I mean, it's like you could walk through the house, kids do it, pound their heels and hear them a mile away, or just set your outside of your toes and the outside of your foot down and go through and not make a peep. It's just the same thing with the big animals. Elephants have snuck up on people. I've had horses sneak up behind me while I was waiting for a muskrat to come out, and there was no sound, no wind, no nothing. And I like it scared me to death because something tipped the back of my hat, and it was a horse. I mean, and there was 3 of them standing like 30 feet back, and none of them made any noise. Like they all snuck up on me, and one approached. If it had breathed, it literally, I'd have heard it breathe, and it never not made a single noise, not a sniff, a snort. So, and even
so, have you experienced the sound of their heavy footfalls?
Oh yeah, yeah. When I brushed that one awake, you could hear it, boom, boom, boom. You can hear the ground, and that's what I was saying. It's almost put me in shock because not just like footfalls, but the mass itself. When he sprung around and stood up, then when he ran off, yeah, he pounded hard. And one plant he did in the ground, yeah, I mean it's like banging the ground with an excavator hoe or bucket. I'm about to play this clip now because I have it, but I want to comment real quick on a comment in the thing. And like I said, we will go back through this. This is going to be a long stream, and you guys are welcome to fall out whenever you want to. I mean, people know I get carried away. So, but one of the comment was from Jeff Hall, and I want to say hi, Jeff Hall. Good to see you in here. And he said, there's a YouTube video titled Barred Owl Who Cooks for Your Call. The video demonstrates the barred owl does have that growler trill sound at the end of their call. And I know exactly what you're referring to, and more what we're talking about, like all these owls are communicating even in this situation. And birds do have variants that they do based on their meaning, but you can put it on a spectrograph, and each time they do that variance, it will be the same. And so you can identify bird to bird based on those nuances, and you can actually do that with Bigfoot as well.
The trait that we're talking about only comes up even during this exchange once. And so we have where I believe one of our viewers counted one of the owls does it 6 times, the one does. And then they're going back and forth. But only once does one of these at the end give a, or it's the always they sound like they're much bigger than they should be. I don't know, maybe the initial, like Chris said, actually sounded natural, but then we get what sounds larger. But that ooh, like that ooh, that takes a larynx. You know, that it's an amplitude thing. So a low frequency amplitude, which is why only the larger animals can make deep noises. Like a mouse can't produce, you know, anything in the low FQ, where all large animals do, even just by breathing. And then the larger animals can actually, at their vocal systems, create very super deep. And that's what we're kind of picking up on. So I just wanted to clarify what we were hearing and why it's so foreign, even when you hear it. Now, in this exchange, even Dave, and we're all going back and forth, you ever heard owls in the day? And in some places, owls do sound in the day. Here, no, you'll never hear an owl in the day here. Very seldom even at night. And that's because there's predators and they'll get eaten as well. So, but in town, sometimes in cities, you'll hear them during daylight hours, and in just regionally and some species. But like I said to Dave, he's lived here his entire life, literally, and this is native lands. It's no access. These guys have been the ones in it. They know all the animals. And like he said, no, you know, these owls don't do this during the day. And it wasn't, normally you'll get an owl warning and it might do it twice, another owl answer, whatever. And then they usually shut up. They don't just keep going and going. And the volume and amplitude changing dramatically, as if something is doing it this way, then doing it this way. And so just keep all those things in mind as we hear this. And I have all the volumes pretty well cranked, so it's going to be a little louder than it was during the original video as well. So let's make sure this one's all the way up. Okay, let's hit this. Ready? Here
Something we just noticed is this foliage has been bent down. You can see where it's bent over, and it's actually locked in, because when it got bent down, it got stuck behind this other one. So that's a sign. Here's our path of travel, goes right across here. I can kind of see it. Yeah, I can see it. See, here you have a vine that's been snapped loose. Fresh break, it was probably going across the trail. That's broken. Then we have this one broke down. See the breakdown? Where this whole thing has been smashed downward. See that? Twisted and broken. That's been moved, twisted and pinned out of the way. Now the way they act, he'll walk on this log, generally, or they'll step over. Smaller ones will walk on the logs. Definitely had some recent tearing in down there. And
now what this is, Chris, I didn't realize, you can tell me, we were, the house started when we were looking at that area, that big 30-foot area where they had trampled all over and you found all the hickory nuts. Is that when the audio started? Was during that?
I think it was pretty close to there. That's what I was thinking.
Okay, right after, right?
Right after that, I think.
Okay, because that's where I'm at right now. So I'm going to move up just... Where did it start? It started pretty well after we looked at most of the stuff on the ground, I believe. After we looked at the hickory trees. So I don't want to pass it, but I don't want to make everyone have to watch that whole thing. They already watched it in the video. So let me move up to, let's say about... I think I'm going to go up almost halfway through that clip.
feet from the tree. All right, let's try to figure out where this goes from here. I got a weird feeling it goes uphill. Okay, so we got hickory nuts scattered all over. The trees down there that they're down off of, there's no hickory here. And we have them up slope. Things don't travel up a slope unless something helped them. Looks like you spent a lot of time here. This is probably a feeding area or a kick-it spot. But we got there's major travel here. See the rock laying on top of the leaf litter? That's dropped. So that rock would have been used at some point. That's been picked up and put there. And there's all kinds of damage, all kinds of damage through this, like wide, broad feet. But the rock, nothing carries rocks.
Ow.
That's the other owl answering
They're warning
that we're in here. Yeah. Well, we're busted. A big old hanger right there.
Okay, so that was, I don't know if you guys caught that or not, but I think that's the one that Dave's like, no, that's not an owl. And you hear the amplitude. This is a GoPro. So, and I didn't hear it that well. There's a lot of amplitude behind these. But I don't know if you caught it. I'm going to back it up just a hair and let it run again so that people might catch that different sound. But that all goes hoo 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 like that. And it's like that doesn't fit the vocal signature of that call. They're all doing the same call, and that's odd for a bird to do that. Even things like minor birds and ravens and they'll all do imitations of other birds, but they imitate the other bird. They don't usually put a whole lot of new twist on things. So let's check this out again real quick.
They're warning
That we're in here. Yeah. Well, we're busted. A big old hanger right there. I wonder where that came from. Hey, where'd this hanger come from? Where'd it come?
And again, that now, Chris, you guys can't hear this yet, but you will. That one goes whoa 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 whoa. You know, it wasn't even an owl. It's like whoa whoa whoa. It's not even an owl sound. It's no longer a hoot. That was very primate sounding. And I'm going to back up and let you guys check that one again just for a sec here.
A big old hanger right there. I wonder where that came from. Hey, where'd this hanger come from? Where'd it come from?
Bigfoot, probably.
It's not from that tree.
Yeah,
It's
that
bigger than
did
that tree.
sound. I know
You
this
sure
is
that's
weird
an
with
owl?
the delay and everything, but I can hear it in the video as I'm talking to you, and that's a very odd sound.
Should be the same every time.
There's two. There's one. Remember what I was telling you about the warning?
Oh yeah, crows do the same damn thing. So we got breakage here. Here we go. Here we go. This is fresh. So here we go again. See, pinned down. So it's right coming through here. So I'm right on sign right now. This path goes over.
Okay, so we'll probably hold it at that. So that's, oh, I guess no, I'm going to go up until you notice what Dave says here.
Here,
Hold on.
Dave. At least from this point it does. But see, hey, Bigfoots will do those. They'll do owls.
Well, I mean,
You ever hear this many owls during the day?
not usually. You don't usually hear them.
I don't either. And that one went, whoa, whoa, whoa. They all should be identical every single time. They don't change it for emphasis. So we might be getting busted by owls. That may not be owls. The sign that's right here is real fresh. This is a day or two. So, I mean, this is an active path of travel. They're moving this frequently. And this, I mean, and I can see padding in the leaves. I can see where they've come from this side, from over there, 3 different paths going that way. So they're flat getting it now. That doesn't sound like an owl. I'm sorry. It just don't.
It don't really.
That one back here definitely don't.
And the one of them went, whoa, at the end.
Okay, and there we go. Remember, we were just talking about that at the end, that whoa at the end. Exactly the same thing. And what I want to kind of note with everybody is, and you guys, this audio will catch up to you, and Chris, if you want to rewatch this, whatever, but I've not re-listened to any of these since we did this. I'll put them on a spectrograph, and I'll tell you if it's an owl or not. I just haven't done that work yet. And we will, and we'll hit it in another follow-up at some point. But that's what I wanted to kind of get at was when Dave points says that one damn sure didn't sound like one. Well, he's pointing in the direction we tracked to the other subject. If you were to take a
Yeah.
line off his finger and where we show we walked by this guy here, how fast can I do this? Fast as a producer? Probably not. If whoa, what's going on? That wasn't supposed to happen, guys. Did a picture show up? It opened in the wrong program for some reason. But anyway, if this guy right here, if you took a line off Dave's finger and extended it, you'd have hit where this guy was. The one he said, especially that one doesn't sound like very good. It's just where it was. It's like, because we just were basically went the same direction as Dave's finger, following sign, and that's where we ended up. So, it's like walks like a duck.
Was
Do what?
across the river, and I think the third sound was across the river or the creek. Right?
Yeah, it was a ways off, wasn't it? Like quite a ways off. One was close. When Dave said initially, when in the earlier clip I showed where Dave points up and then he's going like this, like we have sound back over here. That was the one that sounded the loudest. That was coming from that same general. And then when he says, I heard bigger footsteps over there, that was the one that was a medium distance, right? But didn't do a very good owl. And then that other one, right, was way the hell off somewhere, right? It was like, yeah, that's kind of what I got too. Same
Real
trip.
faint that you could hear.
Yeah. So let's I'm gonna hit the chat room real quick. You guys have been busy. So if people can, even if you're watching this on a TV, if you can go log back in and check out the chat, man, the stuff that flies through the chat is definitely worth digging into. And I want to say, if I can do a little follow up with Jeff Hall and say, I love it. This is a great comment, so I'm going to say it. Jeff Hall says Liam is the ultimate snake and toad hunter. Good job. So you can tell Liam that he got a compliment on his tracking there. So that's pretty awesome. So I'm trying to run through these as quick as I can here. It says like local squatch. I just zoomed in on it. You can see his teeth. It looks real. That's kick ass. And if you guys want to do work on the imaging or video or anything like that, I can send you, cuts of raw video or whatever instead of stealing it off YouTube, which, cuts it down some. Let's see where else we got here. We got some Pat Noble. If you could test theory, blow up doll just like one of the campers. Who knows? So, and I don't know if you guys caught, there was some actually kind of a whole array of weird sounds going on during that moment. Did you notice that? Even what sounded like a woodpecker, brrr, did you catch all that other stuff that was happening just during that time? And it doesn't, none of that happens like any other time during when we're walking, which is.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it, but the delay had me a little mixed up here.
Yeah, so I'm going. Yeah, I know it makes it kind of tough. I really wish you guys could see. We could all be active within this stream as I'm doing this, but it's just not the way they have it set up. D-Star says, I appreciate Robert's ability to challenge my thinking while using reason. Keep up the great work. I'll try to get the word out. Thank you, D-Star. And on that note, if you guys dig this, please throw some likes down there. I have no idea where it's at right now. And yeah, sharing, we are throttled really hard, and it's hilarious. You can watch it on our graphs. I could show you guys pictures, whatever, but we're our numbers, instead of going like at a curve like this, which is natural, they'll be curving up all viral and then just go flat line, man. I mean, they'll go from 100 views in a minute, literally, to a view an hour or less, just flat line us. So if you guys can share anytime our work or mention it to larger podcasts and stuff that can get the word out there, get it going more, then that'd be great. Okay. Digger Dog, see ya. Have a good night. We're losing him for now. I know it's been on a long time. I think we're going to cover the nighttime stuff here next, and we'll go through that because I do want to take another look at that eye shine that was going on, because a couple of people wrote in and said, they think that was direct eye shine, and if it was, it's kind of a big deal because
there was some eye shine that I noticed that I never saw you guys address in the video. There was you kept panning from the left to the right, and then there was a point where you put a circle in the video where there was some movement.
Okay, what
But prior to that, to the left of where that circle was, there was something that I caught that looked like eye shine 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, there's a particular, it's not a frame, it's actually a particular little segment where, and one of our viewers noted it, and it looks like I'm going to have to go into the other edition because the raw, I don't have them ramped. But I went in and did quite a bit of work. And I think, let's see, Darko 1, I think this is the segment. So I think it's all in one segment. But I went ahead and went in and amped up the gamma. And so, because originally you couldn't see, 80% of the trees and things. And so I'm in it now. And then, this will pop up for you guys in just a second. But as I pan around the yard, Dave's yard, I know there's lights on the horizon that I can see. But I don't know if this one's set or not. And let me just play it kind of silently while I'm talking here and try to get through it. But I don't know if this one's set or not, as that's what I'm saying. So I mentioned it earlier in the videos. This is really intriguing because a couple of people wrote me and said, man, those are huge eyes. And they are odd because all the little lights we have out there should have been radio towers, maybe a property or two, but they're consistent. And what I'm talking about are not consistent. And you know what's weirder? I'm not seeing them every time I pan by the yard either. So in this first set of pan that everybody's getting to see right now, let's see. Oh, yeah, I must have panned all the way across. So right here even, I see a blinking light. That's a radio tower. And then as I walk over here, there's a set of these eyes, man. And it looks like 2 eyes that are 6 inches apart or more that are massive eyes squinting. And right there they are in the frame. Okay, so you guys will get to see this. Let me try to stop this bugger on them. That's actually part of it right there, but it's movement. So I'll try to hold right on these dudes and see if I can. But it's huge. And if this is, I can see all the static eyes right there. So I'm going to freeze frame on these things. And you guys just kind of tell me what you're seeing once you get to this point. But people have commented on these, and they all are odd because I don't remember these being on the skyline. And if they are, and remember, when we're looking at this frame, people, it drops off right there considerably. It drops off a good 6 feet, at least 6 feet back, and a little more beyond that. So, or 4 to 5, probably right behind these first trees, little bush line, and then a little bit more behind that. So if this was one standing there, it's huge, 10 to 11 foot. But the eye shine, or the distance and the spread on if that's eye shine, is consistent with one that size. So we've seen them that big before. And if it's squinting its eyes, that's what you're going to get. And just to show you, I mean, we've seen them where, how do I say, I got an actual skull over there that's that big. I could show you guys, but it's, I know this is forced perspective, so everything changes a lot, but equal to my face, its eyes would be this big, this far apart. And then these would be smashed. And when we look at that, that's just what we kind of see in this. So when it catches you up on YouTube, what do you think about that, Chris?
Yeah, I see it's a steal now. Yeah, I never saw that before. And I'm just sitting here trying to figure out, what. Yeah, that's a big drop off there. Pretty good drop off. And then beyond that, it drops way down.
Yeah, we got a cliff right past that, right?
Yeah, but there's some room there that you could be in. Something can be in that area there, in between that major drop off. But beyond it, I was trying to think what could even be lit up back there, but I don't know.
No, well, I know there's a couple radio towers I could see, but I saw him right before in the same clip as these eyes. One of them shows up. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking in my head, I panned out there quite a bit and I didn't catch those. And then through this series
Yeah.
of segments, those are there. And I panned back across them 2 or 3 times. And so I didn't know whether to go there or not. I saw them initially, but I didn't say anything. Because I know the other set of eye shine that I put a circle around here later, I know that was eye shine
Yeah.
from a subject. I can see it turning its head and the ocular change as it turns its head. So I definitely know that when we went walking around the corner, it actually watches us walk around. You can see its eye sweep. But I didn't regard these. I didn't take these into consideration. But what do you think about those, Eric? What's your gut?
You know, so, it's always about perspective, right? So this past weekend, I was up in Mackinac City, just before you go over to the bridge into the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a really cool place there. It's called Mystery Town, USA. And Bigfoot, Dogman, Bessie, every kind of cryptid. It's a really cool place. Cool clothes, all kinds of stuff. But up against the back wall, they have a Bigfoot silhouette that's 8 foot tall with a measurement stick along the side of it. And it's just a big silhouette. You can go lean up against the wall and stand next to an 8 foot Bigfoot and see how you measure up, basically.
Right.
So, I stood there and Stacy took a picture of me and I took a picture at her. She's like 5'3", I think, maybe 5'4". I'm 5'9". And it's hard for me to wrap my head around 8 foot. Right? That's massive.
Yeah, massive.
So when I hear you talk about, 10 foot,
Mm-hmm.
11 foot, my mind doesn't process that well. I've always been artistic, so I have a very good anatomical. I learned how to draw by watching cartoons and Marvel comics, so musculature and everything like that. Even like overly muscular things I'm accustomed to it. I can see the symmetry in it. And I can understand, how the muscles work together. A 12 foot, 11 foot, 10 foot upright walking humanoid shape, to me, just doesn't make sense. Like in my brain, it's like, standing next to Shaquille O'Neal at what, 7'2" or close to 7'3" it's staggering. So if you're talking about there being a significant drop off there beyond that, where, I mean, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, there is a large drop off.
To me, those lights, those eyes, let's call them eyes, like they're, I don't know. I'm having a problem because I'm watching the video and it's starting to play again, and then I want to say no, stop right there, but we're like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys were there, so if with the amount of time that you spent filming there, obviously you would have seen whatever lights were in the background.
Right. Yeah, and so I actually paused it now at a spot where it's not in the main focal point of my high intensity IR. Okay, so what you're seeing here is I'm running a phone that's got 850 nanometer IR broad, and that's what you're seeing the tops of the tree foliage up there with. And then there is a porch light on, but that's not providing light this far. And you actually see there, it is, but you see a line going across where the porch light has effect. Above that's pure 850. And then in the circle, my illumination is 940 nanometer light. So that's much more invisible visually to them but it's much brighter. But what I'm noticing here is I don't have as bright a source when it's on the 850s over here in the dimmer region as when my 940s hit it. When the brighter, I got a higher intensity. So what that would tell me, a lot higher intensity, the luminosity. And so what that would kind of tell me is that's a reflection and not a separate light source, or it shouldn't have changed when my lights hit it. It shouldn't get brighter. And that's what I think we see here when I roll through is I believe we see that get significantly brighter when my 940 hits it. And I'm going to go up. Yeah. And so I actually got a little flash, but right there, because we're dead on, and it just has a lot stronger luminosity. And I'm not wondering if that's actually because it is a reflection. If that's a reflection, then yeah, that's what that is, because there's nothing else with that big of an eye spread that could possibly stand that tall back there. Your biggest black bear would be 4 feet shy of that, real easy. So
That's crazy.
yeah. But anyway, and then I guess the last part of this is where, we go up. The other subject is definitely here, and it's during this segment is in the center screen. I don't know if we'll actually get, I'd probably play it to get a record of the eye shine, but we do get an ocular sweep. And what I mean that is when you turn your head, and it's right when I walk out, and yeah, you get the glory of me walking around in my long johns, because there's already my long johns by the time this shit started.
When I first watched this, I saw you walk out, and I'm like, what the fuck is he wearing?
Yeah, right?
You got fucking leggings on or
Yeah.
what?
I got no shame, dude. I got no shame at all. I really don't. I don't give a rat's ass. That's the funny part about it. But yeah, I even caught myself because I didn't really realize. And when I was watching the video back myself, I'm like, I'm going to wear my damn long johns, man. But they were camouflage. It just doesn't show up in the. But as I walk by here, I want you to watch. There's a right here. There's a glimmer. And then here we'll get a little bit of an ocular. Right there, we get an ocular sweep. And it's very dead center frame. Now, when we watch that as well, we can. There's and a few people caught it, but there's a black pixel change throughout this right there in that area where something. See, there we go. Our ocular sweep. Something is moving. That's a darker. There, and you can see the ocular sweep again, where it's looking back and forth between the porch and us walking by. Now that's 100% not a distant light source. Whatever that is right there. And it's not very far behind there. And it's actually showing up in the light, but it's showing up as a dark subject in the light. So it's not returning much light, so to speak. But we do get a black pixel change all over that area. And so, but this is probably, there it is right there. So that's the long one. So he's taking a look at the porch. You guys will see it here in a minute, but I just backed it up to do it again, but right there we get a long 2 eyes, ocular sweep, and the whole 9 yards. And that's probably one of the coolest points for me because I know what that is. And we do get both eyes there for just a second. And they commonly look with
that is very obviously a head turn.
Yeah, you caught it.
Very obviously turning. Yeah.
So, but anyway, I think on that note, man, we're probably going to wrap this deal. And you guys have been here for a long time. This is going to be a 3-hour live stream. That's pretty badass. We still got 50 people hanging with us. Man, how kick-ass is that? So I'm going to take a quick look like we always do at the chat again. Before we blow out of here, if anybody has any more question, then hit it. I know I see one from Maria Walker. She says, where is this? And this is northern Oklahoma, right on the Missouri border. It's affiliated with the Quapaw lands there. It's a private piece of land, and it's restricted access. No one gets in there, period. They know who goes in and out of there. And yeah, so that's where it is anyway. But okay, Maria Walker. Okay, let's see. 2 more heads crouched by the big tree. Not sure though. Pyromedic. I will go back through here, and anything that people have, commented if they see something or whatever. Like Pyromedic just says it looks like there are 2 more heads in the crotch of the big tree. Looking not sure though. And so what I'll do is I'll try to figure out about where that came up. It's not that tough, and I'll take a look at what you're talking about, and then we'll, bring it up on our next live deal, and we'll discuss it and take a better look. Duke, we're Bigfoot Radio, same thing. Bigfoot face, bottom red circle. Now, Local Squatch added not. I'm not with a bunch of exclamation points. I had no clue what you're talking about. If you want to go on with that, if not, that's fine. Yeah, its head is as wide as a tree then. Yep, absolutely. So, by measurement, an eye spread like that would fit a head about, what do we got here? Yeah, probably 12 to 13 inches, I would say, wide. Would probably be across the head there. But, that's probably be a little, but double what a human would be. But that's what I would guess about across the top of the cranium. And then Digger Dog, you wrote me, you could have scrolled into the photo more and stuff, but you got to understand the lag time. By the time you guys see this and it gets back to me, we're blown by. So I apologize about not being able to work that much more in detail with you guys on this. Is this near I-40? I asked because I drove through there a couple of months ago. This is Maria Walker again, and got creeped out. No, it's north of there actually, but all those areas along through there's the same trip. It's all travel corridors. They can move through all that country. So, and that one just has to look at you and you could get creeped out, especially if you're an empath. Okay, here we go. Tara May, Weird Al sound was more than human sounding. Yeah, I agree. And that is my lovely fiance, Tara May. And yeah, I think the first time she's probably got a good hear too. So, let's go on down. That says, Ninja Dave says, probably not the first time Bigfoot seen Robert in his underwear. That's probably actually true. Probably that one, though. Yeah, it did frost that next morning. We did have a cool evening. And thanks, Ninja Dave. Love you too, brother. It's awesome. Maria Walker says, there's a little light to the left shining off and on too. That's one of the radio towers I was talking about. So you can see that kind of diffused. If you remember what it looked like, it kind of looked like a little diffused fuzzy star. That's what those lights look like. They're not sharp like it's a light source 25 feet from you, right? So, just add all that stuff together. You guys let you make your own conclusions. Yeah, thanks, Jeremy Scott. Good to see you in here. Hit that thumbs up. I really appreciate this. And as we're closing, I want everyone to do that, please. I know it's kind of a big old thing and it sucks to hit a like button. That's hard to do. Subscribe's way tougher. The notification bell seems impossible, but I want you guys to go way beyond that and grab the link and share the video. And if you can, share it to other content creators with a big platform so we can get the actual kind of physicality behind this thing and our new efforts, and let people know about the new collab with Eric and what we're going to bring to the table, because we're not trying to go, oh yeah, we're the team that's we're not doing any of that crap. What we're going to do is concentrate on things where if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, we'll go ahead and take a picture of it, and we're probably going to call it a duck for now. So if you guys can catch up. So I really appreciate share. Copy the link. Now, you wouldn't believe, I went through ticks, chiggers, got cut all to hell, was bleeding like crazy, and the whole 9 yards, right? And that takes a certain amount of effort to do this. And all I'm asking you guys is Stripe, just highlight the little link and copy that and paste it anywhere and everywhere you can. And that's not to try to get us likes and stuff. We're doing this to get the word out, and we can't do that if you guys don't do it. So again, thanks. This has been awesome. I want to say thanks to you guys. Why don't you tell Eric again where they can find you and where all your stuff is going to be sitting real quick. And then Chris, I want to say thank you to you as well. I'll let you go after Eric to say goodnight and everything. But, really thanks for beaming in here, man. I appreciate it. And I want to let you know, as far as I'm concerned, you're a valuable component of KX, dude. And Liam is as well. I mean that. But really, I appreciate your effort and your intellect and just the way you go about everything. It's been great hanging with you so far. So, Eric, yeah, go ahead and fill us in on your details real fast.
Yep, I'm Eric Szilagyi. I am the host of Uncomfortable Podcast. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, any of the major platforms. Best way to find me is just search Uncomfortable Eric, and the black and white logo with the lowercase u and the uppercase N, one that looks like the logo on my hat here, will pop up. There's about 180, 190 episodes that are out there. Just check it out. If you like it, subscribe, and look forward to working with Robert and some other fine folks with just trying to bring you a little bit more of a solidified, a more solid knowledge base on some things, and go at it from, what did I say earlier? A more scientific-ish
Yeah. You added an
approach, So there's a lot of horse shit out there. There's a lot of entertainment out there, and I'm not throwing shade at any of it, but there is a niche that needs to be filled by people that want to do what we want to do, and that is to bring you good, well thought out, scientific-ish approaches to this topic. And I couldn't think of anybody better to do it with than Robert and Scott Tompkins from the Bigfoot Mapping Project. I think you guys are going to be happy with what we put together.
Well, it's been great, and I really appreciate that as well. And someone asked before I get back to Chris here, somebody asked, Eric, Uncomfortable Podcast or Eric, Eric. You're going to have to read through that. But
it's just search Uncomfortable and then put my name, ERICK.
There you go. Okay, he says, I found it by Uncomfortable. That's how Maria Walker says to Grandizer there for advice. And then, Chris, go ahead and let us know what you're about to do with Dave and stuff, and then hopefully we'll get to whatever results you guys get, we'll get to throw it around on the KX broadcast. So let us know what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, Dave's been keeping track of when people's notice those lights the most often. Mm-hmm. So he's thinking around, October-ish, the 20th, somewhere between 18th to 25th. There's been where they've seen these what they call hornet spook light. And so anyway, we're just going to plan a camping trip, and then there's a couple of places where it can be seen from. We're going to go back and forth and just be keeping an eye out for that. And appreciate you having me on, and it's great hanging out with you. Can't wait to do it again. Mm-hmm. There's a lot to do out over this way, so hopefully you can get back pretty quick and we can get some more stuff going on.
Well, I'm glad to have you as a new member of the team. And then whatever you guys, of course, I've shown you what to look for and apply that with the Bigfoot thing as well. And then you'll have to get back to us, and as a team, we'll come back up and see what results you got and present that to the people. And then as well, I want to physically get you down here and get you working on some stuff down here with us too. So Chris is also big history buff and knows a lot, A with a capital lot. So about his area, and as well about KGC and what their interactive play with the all the Civil War stuff and really what was going on that people don't realize, like all the guerrilla warfare and who's playing what game and the politics and the propaganda around it and the whole 9 yards. So really valued member of the team. So I just want to welcome you along. And Dave too, I wish he could have joined us, but I couldn't be happier to have him on the crew, and you guys look forward to seeing us all together again and out there. I missed Tara in the field that round, but I told her, yeah, man, you probably didn't want to be there they ended up getting some chiggers and stuff at their other property where they live. But like I said, you didn't want you to come out of there bloody with half the crap. So I think she was glad she didn't ghost on that one, but I missed her out there. So but anyway, thank you everybody. I just want to say it's been an absolutely amazing time. Thanks for hanging with us 3 hours. You guys stuck with us the whole time, and the viewers are awesome. Got the best people in the world right here on this channel. They really, really are. So thanks you guys for everything you've done. You know where to find me and most of my stuff. If you don't, look down in the description. We do have some merch available that actually helps us out pretty good. If you want to donate, I wouldn't do it necessarily through any of the YouTube stuff, even though YouTube's watching. Hey guys, what's up? But they take too big of a chunk of change. So you're welcome to go. Venmo is probably preferred, that PayPal, whatever, or any of the Streamlabs links. Our merch store is through Streamlabs. That's where you'll find more of the merch. We just have a little bit through YouTube because their store systems are kind of screwing us around a little bit. So if you guys want to check out any of that stuff, go to hit the merch in the description down below, and that'll take you into the Streamlabs store. Got all kinds of crap in there, hats and tees and all kinds of different designs and whatnot. And we're always adding more, so check that out. But anyway, thanks you guys again. And when I cut the stream, you guys, I'm going to lose both of you, I'm sure. I've never done it before, so we'll see what happens. When I end stream, you might still be there. If so, I'll say private good night. And if it does kick you guys off instantaneously, then I'll say good night right now.